Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing there today? Sorry for running a little late. I'm still gathering everything that we need here. Hopefully you're doing well. Let me just gotta grab a few things here. Logging on to Instagram and Twitter for everybody that sent me some beautiful artworks. Let me get my hellos out of the way. I got my coffee and my Star Wars mug. Got my phone ready to go for anybody that sends anything, but let's get the hellos going. Lorraine, Harry, hello. En français, how you doing there today? Hello from Korea. Oh geez, can I get this right again? Annyeong haseyo? I think that's hello, right? Annyeong? I think you just say annyeong, or is that haseyo? I always forget now, but I'm sure you can correct me. All right, let me download some of the stuff here. Hopefully you guys are all having a wonderful morning. I've had a good one so far. Made myself some beautiful eggs, and now I'm having my coffee, and I'm here with all you awesome people. Just gonna download a few of these images. So today we're going to do art reviews. If anyone out there watching has something that they'd like to submit, you can easily submit it to my Instagram or Twitter. That makes it a little easier for me. And then we'll go over it with some helpful tips, give you some insights, maybe ways to make it better. So if you paint it again, you'll know how to tackle it the correct and right way. Alrighty, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna make a little Instagram post story here real quick so people know we're live, because that's what a cool person would do. Let's see. We'll just put now live on YouTube. There we go. Is anybody going to paint anything fun this weekend? There we go. So easy to make stuff so quick. All right, submit. All right, there we go. Fun and fun. You've always waited for this? Well, now's the time. If you haven't had a chance... Oh, Mortuary. I'm sorry. I didn't even get to see your name there. My mistake. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to increase the chat size for me. That's why I didn't see it, because my face didn't notice it. All right, so we got some good submissions here. Harry, I see yours sent. So I know Mr. Ryan Owens sent me one. So let me grab that and drag it over. We'll label that Ryan Owens. Then we have one from the lovely Zimmerman. Ooh, let's grab this. Let's grab that Rocky one. Lorena. There we go. And then we got one sent from Harry. Ooh, we got a nice, beautiful looking one. Oh wait, this one. Oh, this one I have to do on my phone. I don't know why sometimes. I think Facebook Messenger doesn't allow me to see some stuff. Oh, I think it's the way you guys send it sometimes. Let's see, can I save this? Wait, I guess I can download it. Photo save, there we go. So I'll just email that to myself really quick. Let's see, boom. Paint, there we go. So we got those 3 right away. And then, oh geez. Okay, wow, I got a lot sent on the back end. Didn't realize this before. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, well, we'll start with those 3. Let me grab this last one from the emails here. If I could spell things correctly, that is. Gmail. Come on, load in there for me. There we go. All right, perfect. And this one was from Harry. Oh, we got a lot of submissions. Hopefully a lot of people show up and want to see this all done. Hey, what's up, Sussy? How's everything going on with you? Hopefully you're doing well. Oh, and Newport. I believe I said that correctly. If I didn't, feel free to correct me. All right, who wants to be our first victim? If you haven't had a chance to submit it on Instagram and or Twitter. If you're here and you've submitted one, let me know, because I like to grab the ones of the people that are here. So far, I got one from Harry, Lorena, and Ryan Owen. I believe that's Ryan's, yeah. If there's one that you submit, I can do, I'll do anything. I mean, I really excel more in acrylic and oils and landscapes, but we can always just take a look at what we did. You just DM'd me. Kevin, what'd you DM me on? Was it Instagram, Twitter? Let me know so I know what to narrow it down on and I can grab yours. Oh, and V Taper. Okay. There's some on Instagram that are in the review side, as in like new messages to me. Let's see. Oh, and I got one from Victoria too, so I gotta grab Victoria's. So many people, so many people. So who would love to be our first victim slash influence slash everything else? Let's see. I think I'll be able to grab this one. Might come out small. That one, yeah. Victoria's might come out small. So let's grab let's see if we can grab that one from her. There we go. Go easy, never. Honesty is the best policy here in Mortuary. You choose? Up to me? Oh, geez, wow. Most people don't let me pick. All right, well, I guess I can just go down the list of what I have here. So H is the first letter on the one that is submitted. So let me load this into Photoshop really quick. And Harry, you'll be up first. So if you don't mind telling us in the chat Let us know how long you've been painting, what number painting this is going to be that I'm going to show up shortly, and can let everybody know what the medium is, so that way we're all on the same page and you get some help. And if you guys have never been here before, this is your first time, first of all, let me say thank you. You get to see my beautiful chairs, folding chairs in the background that I had to use because my friends were here last week and I was busy, hence why no video. But what we do here is you get to submit your art. I look at it, I review it, and I try to give you my honest opinion. I don't beat around the bush, and then I try to give you some helpful tips to make it better. It's not like really a critique or an opinion-based thing. It's just things I express from all the times I had trouble painting that may give you some insight. So don't take it to heart. It's something you're passionate about. I understand that. Just trying to give you some general insights to make you a better painter, so that way when you paint the next one, you'll be bigger and better, or things just click, or you go, oh, I never thought of something that way. It's an open forum. If there's a painting I'm about to show on screen that you like, let the person know. If you don't like certain things about it, let the person know. Those are all helpful things. Give feedback, try to be polite if you can. And we just try to help each other grow and be better and, take it from there. So I'm going to take one final sip of my coffee, clear my throat before I tear this painting apart. So without further ado, let's have some fun. All right, let me move over here. It's been a while since I've been on this section. Let's get this alert thing on here because I'll have to save that for next time. First thing I always need to do is let's duplicate this layer. Let's increase the size here and move it a little over for everybody to see. I hope you find mine. I will go through a bunch here in a second. So let's take a look at what we have. So if I don't get to your painting today, I will get to it next time. I do YouTube members first, which you'll know if you're one, if you have that little badge next to your name on the YouTube chat. So we got a beautiful little landscape here. It looks like a mid-afternoon with a nice, beautiful sky and some slight clouds here. It looks like we got some pine trees, a little bit of lavender plants, trees cascading from the back into a nice little forest perspective over here with some changing of the seasons with highlights on our bushes. And I'm going to assume a troubled rocky path leading off into the distance here. I like this. This is smooth. It almost looks like pastel or acrylic paint a little bit, but it's always hard to tell in an Instagram photo what the medium is, which is why I ask if you can let us know. Harry, if you don't mind, in the chat. You used acrylic liquid white. Okay, so I was right. It was acrylics. It almost looks pastel-y, like you almost did with pastels, with the way everything's pushed into the canvas material there. You're planning on doing cherry blossoms. I think I saw in the beginning of your comment, how do you do a cherry blossom? I'll give you some insight to that in the end here. So let's take a look. First thing we want to look at is, let's look at the painting as a whole. Overall, I think it's pretty darn balanced until we get to the bottom foreground perspective. Let's switch our colors here so that way we can see everything. Let's make that a nice little red. We'll make this one green for, let's just say, good, if anybody does anything good, and I can switch this back and forth. So overall, I think your sky is very well done. It's a cascading of colors of how light would reflect and refract off many different things. I think it works well with the environment of what you have for this mid-afternoon. Some of the issues that I think you have is a little bit of a perspective issue of how you're trying to focus the eye to things. So the simplest rule is when things are in the distance, they're generally smaller in perspective. And as things get closer to us, the viewer's eye, they get larger in scope. And you have to remember that as you're building your layers. And where I think you lose a little bit of the perspective, or sorry, where you start with it well, is you do pretty decent with your trees here, okay? They get a little bit larger in scale, but what you also might want to try sometime is they're also the same exact thickness all the way through. And what you might want to do to increase the illusion of depth is as they get a little bit closer, is just fatten them up a little bit. Now, you don't have to make them fuller. You can leave gaps in them, but making the branches extend a little further from the center of the trunk would lead to that illusion a lot more. Overall, with those trees, you did exceedingly well. Where the perspective starts to lose its luster, however, is everything from, let's just say, this and down. Oh, Siri, I don't need your information, please. Everything from that V and down is more or less all the same shape and size, okay? You got your cherry blossomish trees that are the same as this bush shape, which is the same as this bush shape, which is the same as this bush shape, size and dimension. And, excuse me. And that's where it starts to become a flat painting, okay? And you want to really try to get away from making things all the same shape and all the same color, because if you don't add a little bit of contrast in there, you don't add a little bit of different dimension and shape, things are going to have the appearance of being flat really fast. So to add on to that, to add to the effect of the illusion of depth, you want to make some different shapes and different sizes, but then add contrast, which would be different colors in layers. And while I can see the layers that you have pretty decently with the trees, cherry blossoms, and then let's just say these regular bushes here. Once you get to the regular bushes, your differentiation of depth kind of loses a little bit. So easy trick we can do here is, I think you did everything well pretty much up until this point, more or less, okay? Where your horizon line is, which is a tiny bit right here. But let's just say we moved it up a little bit for the sake of argument. You just got a little heavy-handed on your colors. So if I were you, what I would do is I would have slightly fewer bushes, okay? But make them slightly bigger and cascade out with all those bristles in your brush there. So when you go over here and you push really hard and really get those bristles to bend so they push out in this direction. So that way you have all these thousands of little leaves, and then as you highlight generally the top only, you'll have a little bit of shaping of color you can do right here. And then you're gonna have, whoops, that's the wrong brush tool, sorry about that. Then you're gonna have, that's the wrong tool, there we go. Then you're gonna have separation with these dark points, because remember, your light source is more or less right here. So it's cascading in all directions. So as it cascades in all directions away from that center point, where this green represents here, is you're gonna have more shadow color. So what you do is add your brightest highlight here, and then just wipe off the brush a little bit on your mixing palette or paper towel. Kind of just like tap it in a little bit. It's gonna remove some of that color, and then go in and just add your second layer of highlights in a different direction, more or less, from this to create separation between the two. And you're gonna notice it fades off and away, and then leave this section right here completely dark, okay? Now you can fill that dark point in by cascading in your trail underneath it, or you could put another bush like you did here with brighter highlight. And now you've created two planes of separation, creating more depth, pushing your path further and further back, which is gonna be great, okay? And all you need to do is repeat that step on your left side and right side. You notice it more on your right side because you'll see that this yellow, this yellow, this yellow, and this yellow are all the same color. And this can be really difficult. So what I would do to make this easy for you is when you get to this section here, let's consider this your mid-ground. Take your yellow and your sap green, or whatever green color you used for your bushes here, and just mix it slightly together. That's gonna knock down that yellow color a little bit, making it more dull. It's gonna make it more like a foresty green, okay? That's gonna be your highlight color because this is your midsection. Then when you get to this section here, which is considered more or less our foreground, you can use pure yellow, like a cadmium yellow, and if it's not sticking, just add a little bit of white, and then that'll make it brighter, and it'll look like there's separation between the two. And I can tell you, try to do it a little bit because you added a little bit of orange and yellow, which is awesome, by the way, and then you add a little bit of white here to make it look like a specular highlight. So you had the right idea, you just had to see it through the entire painting. So now that you see it now, it'll be easier the next time you do it. And I almost have no notes for your path other than maybe I would tighten it up a little bit. Your path looks great. As it looks like a worn path that maybe deer or mankind has walked its way through, and it's been trudged on, it's been walked through, and I love it. It looks like it's a worn path. The only thing I would do is you go down to your small perspective way too quickly here. It's really bunched up, and then it goes into a wider section down here. Paths are tricky. Paths are tricky. I suffer with them all the time. What I actually do when I cheat is I'll actually curve my path behind something like this arrow, and then I'll take my bushes and then I'll come up and cover it. So the mind will be like, oh, it just goes behind the bush, rather than me trying to build a forced perspective. So all you really need to do for that is when you build your path, build small and gradually build out bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and start small, and then you can go, we'll do it with red now, and then you can go wider, wider, small, 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 and you go, okay, I need it bigger. Then you go, okay, small, bigger, bigger, bigger. Just build it in layers. What most likely happened is you probably tackled this all really big, and then you're like, oh, this is easy. And they're like, oh, crap, I got to build a perspective. And you want really short. Okay? So just start small, and then you can keep adding in wider and wider. And then the highlights on it are beautiful. I think you did really well. I think you did a fantastic job. I think it looks beautiful. I get the idea of what you're going for. I would say paint it again. And sky's fantastic. Pine trees are fantastic, by the way. You got beautiful shapes, beautiful highlights on them. Just remember where your highlight is coming from. Since our light source is more or less established here, for your left side, it hit on the right side, and for your right side, it hit on the left side. You got your highlights on the opposite side here, more or less. Just bend that highlight brush the way it needs to cascade, and that's it. And it looks great. More or less did fantastical. You just gotta create that illusion of depth a little more, and then I think you got a really solid painting. And introduce a little bit more contrast. One trick I show a lot of people here, especially if you're in the chat, is if you have something like Photoshop, one great fantastic tip you can do, especially if you're using a reference photo, is take it into Photoshop, or even on your iPhone you can do this. There's filters. Just go to the filters option, or go to the edit option in your iPhone or in Photoshop. Just pull up, for me, I use a PC, so I believe it's just Control U. I know it by heart, so I don't even look at the command. Yeah, Control U. You're going to get this thing called the hue and saturation command. It's the same thing on an iPhone. It's just called saturation. Drag the saturation all the way down. Essentially what you're making is a makeshift black and white photo. You're stripping all the color out. So if we do that, you get to see how the color looks through the intensity of the eye of how it's going to pick up shadow and light. And what you want to look for, more or less, depending on the sections of your photo or painting, is the differentiations between the light and dark. And this adds to contrast, which then adds to details, which then adds to the illusions of what you're going to recreate with your paintbrush. And so when we strip all the color out here, you can see where the contrast and the things really stand out. And right away, other than this big black blob here, which is fine because that's our focal point in the beginning, or of our foreground, is you really notice your trees, your pine trees, and that's pretty much it. All of the other mass of your painting really falls into the same colors, more or less. And that means that's not really oh my god, it looks like I drew a face. I'm an artist. It all more or less looks the same. And that's why your painting looks flat overall. So try doing that on your reference photos, or try thinking that in your brain. I know it's really hard. It's like thinking fifth dimensionally, but it's a great little tip to make your painting stand out. And when you bring the color back, you're gonna note, oh, I guess I could have just done this. You're gonna notice it'll pop and go, wow, that looks so much better. But overall, fantastic job. Hey, Paul, how you doing there today? Paul, I got a great story about you. I was going through YouTube, and I was not feeling well one day, and my tummy was not doing so well, so I turned on YouTube and started watching a bunch of stuff, and one of your videos came on. And let me say, they are fantastic videos. If you guys don't know, I was going to say Rand Paulson. It's a different person. Paul Ranson Art is a YouTuber that makes beautiful painting tutorials and demonstrations. He has one of the most soothing voices that I've ever seen. Super calm, elegant in the way that he teaches painting. They're more in depth than you would see from something like Bob Ross, and he also teaches from the perspective of mistakes that he's probably made repeatedly and teaches you how to avoid some of those pitfalls, which is how I like to teach as well. And they're beautiful. So if you hadn't had a chance, give Paul a nice subscribe on YouTube. He also has a beautiful lighting setup for his camera. And I also would love to know how Paul paints, because when I try to paint square on or true to my canvas, my body and arm is in the way. So I don't know how Paul does it a lot of times. I have to paint on like a 45-degree kilt, so that way I can like see what I'm doing in paint, but it's awesome. But if you haven't had a chance, give Paul a nice follow. He's a great man. So Harry, great job, dude. I love it. I think you did a fantastic job. If you do paint it again, please let me know. I'd love to see this version and then the next version that you do. It'll be fantastic. Alrighty, we got who wants to be our next victim up here? I got on the wings here. I got Ryan Owens, Victoria, Lorraine, and then I can grab any of the ones from Instagram that people have submitted. We got that. Move that out of the way. Yeah, V-Taper, he's got great videos. I love his videos. I watched like 4 in a row, which is like pretty close to like 2 hours of videos, because they're all like 20 to 30 minutes. They're really well broken down. Really well broken down. And I like too, because one of the videos that I watched from you, Paul, is you made a mistake and you're like, I made a mistake, but it's okay, I can correct it. All we're gonna go back down here is we're gonna start with a little thinner side and then bring it back out and make it a little fatter, and there we go, we fixed our tree. It looks all nice and good. And I was like, that's what I do too sometimes. Sometimes I make my trees too pencily, too thin, too narrow. I need to fatten them up. I need to give them a little bit of curve, a little bit of character. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm not the only person that makes that mistake. All right, let's grab Lorraine. We got you. All right, let me pull that into Photoshop. Let me duplicate this layer so we have it. Make this a little bigger, and let's switch our scenes over for it. Oh, I realize that my music's in the background. Let me close that up there. I forgot that I had that just going. If I can figure out where to turn off. There we go. Okie dokie finoki. All right, pull my chat back up here where I can see it. Okay, so this is Lorraine. So if you don't mind telling us, can you let us know how long you've been painting, what number painting, best guess, that you think this is, and what medium is it? There we go. Those are our normal 3 that we like to go to. Hey, what's up, Art of Shenanigans? How you doing there? And also Bud H. I don't know if I got a chance to say hi to you, or maybe even V Taper. Hello to all you beautiful people. I'm so bad. I'm rusty. I don't think I've live streamed since my birthday, which was back in November. I can't even remember. I was like, wow, it's been that long. And I told myself I was going to do more of these too. It's just life has been crazy recently. And when I get like a moment of free time, I'm sure you guys will all relate to this. Sometimes you just need to decompress and recharge your batteries. And it's like, man, sometimes I just want to watch Netflix or just relax, you know? So it's hard to hit that go live button, but I'm glad that I do, because I love helping and talking to all you people. But what I really enjoy is seeing all the art that you guys produce. It makes me so happy that you guys are also finding your creative outlets and expressing them. Been painting for 3 years. This is about the 50th acrylic painting. Awesome. Well, let's take a little lookaroos here. So we got a beautiful, increase size a little bit. It's going to get a little pixelated just because it's a smaller image. So, whoops, didn't mean to move that. So what we have here, let me get rid of my ugliness there. So we have here, it's a beautiful little painting. Looks like we got a nice little plateau of a river or creek coming around the bend down into a beautiful little waterfall here with some nice staggered rock formations trickling down into was either a lake or the continuation of our river. And I just gotta say, love this. The water is beautiful and your rocks are fantastic. There is so much detail on these rocks that lead to the illusion of cracks and fissures and focal points and spider webbing and just rough years and decades of Mother Nature pounding on these things. So let's take a look how we can help out, or at least give a little bit of insight here. Oh, thanks, Paul. I appreciate it, man. I always love to see another awesome painter and educator doing well on YouTube and lending their creative craft to helping out the, let's just say, younger generation or younger at heart. You never know. Painting is such a fun thing. One of these days, we'll have to do a collaboration together, buddy. All right, let's take a look at what we got here. First of all, beautiful. I love the our light sources. Our light source is in the center here. We can establish that by the fact that our highlights are cascading. Where's my brush? No, I don't need to. Oh, I need to be on a layer. There we go. By the way that our light comes out from this crack point and cascades across our bushes and trees and everything, and it fades perfectly away. You created a really good illusion of light that comes down and across, and it works. What I think would really help benefit it somehow is I know exactly how. Let me make this. I'm going to make this brush just a little smaller since this is a bigger image. There we go. Is when your light comes down and across, you may want to consider adding 2 layers of elements in your painting. And I can tell you did it on your left side, which you got right here. You got one tree, and then whatever this is. I'm not sure if it's a wall of ivy, bushes, or maybe another mass of a tree, but it's hard to tell a little bit. But what you were trying to do here would have worked fantastic over on your right side. Since you have one element breaking it up and then create, let's do green, and then put shadow points in here. When you would have put your next element and then shadow points, you're creating that depth illusion, like that river is coming from a very far perspective back there, okay? And that was working well. You just needed to shape it a little bit better. And it looks like you had a little bit of sticking issues right here, which is fine. You just need to break up that paint to make it a little more stickyable, if we will, if you can make it more fatty or thinner, whichever way you want to do, as long as it's applying to the correct rules of paint going on paint. People like to use terminology differently. I like to say a fattier paint on top of that firm paint, but up to each his own. I think it would have really helped on the depth of the painting. Now, if you don't like that or you struggle with that, what you could have also done is you could have just you could have done your tree shape, but then brought the next element down and across, and then just create a nice grass plane here, which you did, and help encapsulate this water element here. If you really struggle with these branches or bushes or trees or whatever you want to call these big masses up here. But other than that, I think it lends itself well, and it might be really hard to see on the stream here, but I like the added element in the background here of your light haze of putting up what I believe is, hopefully here, small scratches of tree trunks or twigs sticking out from the background. Really small detail that lends itself to the painting. I think your bend could use a little bit of work as it comes down across. These sides here are fantastic. This really holds and cups in your water well. Where I think it loses a little bit is how it comes around this bend. It looks like you tried to paint this whole entire section together as one. I think what would have really helped is if you just painted this first, then you could etch it in and shape it in and carve in where you want Mother Nature to sit this water in, and then move on to the next section, which would have been here, do the same thing, and then the third section here. That way you would have really have shaped that bend perfectly. Small, minor thing, but beautiful nonetheless. I love the colors that you did. I think it works well. And then the water that comes down is beautiful. I really, really love the undertones of the color that you have within the water, because it looks like, I'm going to cover it up when I highlight it here, but these spots are just beautiful because it looks like water has different depths and different densities, or there's rocks and there's different things moving around, or moss, or I don't know, maybe there's a fish in there. You have all these dark patches, which lends itself beautifully to the illusion that this water is alive. And that's what I love. I think you did a fantastic job on that. And you did a great job with the specular highlights of the light that would come down and cascade across it. Now, I love texture. And I think texture can always be in a painting because I'm making a painting. I'm not making a photo. But you smoothed out the texture on the back of this water, which is technically the right move to do because it's further in the background, so it shouldn't have as much detail. And then when you add the texture in the front, it's going to really enhance that. So you did a fantastic job. Now, I have nothing but praise on your rocks. Your rocks look fantastic. I think they look great. Hard to see a little bit with the low quality of image that it is, but overall, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If I had to give one small critique, and it's the smallest critique possible, is since we did establish that your light source is here, and your light would be pushing this way, you would have to follow the same rule, more or less, that you did with your trees and bushes here, with how light cascades into dark zones. Now, granted, you could make the argument that your trees are shaped in a different way, so light has a harder time cascading or wrapping around through direct or intense light. Okay, fair enough. However, but, if you created somewhat of the same illusion on your rocks on these farther and under points, it would really, really lend. Now, I'm going to move my face out of the way. Which one am I? There we go. You do a really good job. Whoops. Brought my ugly face back. Got to click back on Photoshop. You do a really good job on this side of creating that illusion. Like, this rock has so much character because look at all the beautiful shadow that cascades down and away. You put the beautiful highlight here, and then you faded the shade or shadow over on that side. You need to do a little bit of that on this side here, okay? You do a pretty decent job, but it would just lend itself a little bit more to how you really nestle in all these coves with these beautiful, beautiful rocks. And that's the only critique I could do. And it's so minute. You probably just got carried away because you're like, oh my God, I made all these beautiful rocks, and I get carried away too. You just got to remember your light source, which is why I would always recommend, I call it the 3-6-9 rule. What I like to do is I like to take breaks. Let's just say every major element or every ground, if you will. Background, midground, foreground. I like to stand, whenever I finish those elements, I like to stand 3 feet away, 6 feet away, and 9 feet away. And what that does is that gives me a chance to have a nice, much needed break, but it also allows my eye to see what is working with, whoops, I just hit my microphone, what works with an illusion, what my brain can fill in. And then it allows me to go back over the basics of how light should cascade. Am I following my rule of thirds, if you will, if you want to be a nice Ansel Adams? Do things sit in the right position? Are colors working where I have? It allows me to rejudge and recharacterize where I want everything. And when you do that, you can go, oh my gosh, my rocks look fantastic, but I put beautiful shadows on my left side, but I didn't have so many on my right side. Should I? Okay, well, my light's coming from here. Hits on that first element of rocks really well, but maybe it should fade as it gets further and further away. And you just get to think. So I would say just try that next time. Work in those sections and start taking a little bit more of a break time. Because from the last time we did some of your stuff, you've gone up 50-fold. 50-fold, and I couldn't be happier for you. So just remember to take those breaks so that way your 50-fold can really be expressed in the correct ways. Hey, what's up, Lizello Art? How you doing there today? Happy to see you. I will watch it in full after work. Well, I'm glad you could come in here and give us the love that you do. The love that you do. You want to go there and take a rest? I want to go here. Whoops. Took my face away. I want to go right... Let's see. I want to go right here. And I want to throw my fishing pole over. Fish right here. This is me with my big, massive arms of muscle. There we go. Yeah. Oh, I can't forget my awesome hair. There we go. Of course, I got my awesome smile. And then I got to also be holding a beer. There we go. That's a nice, beautiful beer right there. And then maybe there's a rhino over here. And it's like, hey, man, you're super cool because you know I am. That's the world's best rhino, by the way. Let's give. Actually, I want like a super rhino. There we go, just in case it's like scared. And I just want to fish there. Oh, and then I also want my bucket of KFC right here. And I want nobody to talk to me for exactly 4 hours. And that's what I want to do in this painting, because it's beautiful. I just want to enjoy my time there. Who's holding the rocks? You cast out and you put it in the rock so that way you can drink, and then all you got to look for is the bend in the bowl or bow. That way you know when the fish has got your pole and the wires and the fishing line and my hooks. I just sit there and relax, stay still. Alrighty, so let's finish up this one here. I would say the only thing that isn't the most pleasing, but I like what you did, is there we go. Your bush over here is only okay. It's a bit mud mixing ish. You covered it to death with highlights. I say you probably ruin the shadow area. So I would say next time is if you want to put a bush in there, really think about, just like we did with the rocks, think about where your highlights are. The shadow is a beautiful effect, so don't ruin it. We all get an allure from when we see Bob or Bill put highlights on a bush with all this beautiful texture and all these thousands of bristles, creating all these thousands of leaves that look like they're jumping right off the canvas. Beautiful effect, but a shadow is a beautiful effect too. So don't kill it. Don't kill it, is my only critique on that. Your rocks down here look beautiful. The only thing I would probably add is, since you have churning water, I don't know if you ever live near a lake or a river or a bend or a creek or whatever water element there is that I'm missing, other than an ocean with waves, is when water falls, it bubbles, it moves, it breaks, it creates motion, which is what you did near the water break of when it comes down here. I'm going to remove me so you guys can see more of it. Is you got these beautiful churns right here, okay, which are bubbling, cruising, but as that would happen, water would move down and across at a more rapid rate because there's momentum carrying through here, okay? So I would just put a little bit of more water line around here because those rocks are breaking up the flow of the water. And then as you get further away, you could have it more relaxed like you do on these rocks down here, especially this rock down here. That's a perfect one, but I would probably put just a little bit more right around these three rocks, more or less. And that would be it. That would be it, Lorraine. I think you did beautiful, beautiful rock formations. You got a nice, let's say, tricolor of a nice base, midtone, and specular highlight that cascades and wraps around. Beautiful, beautiful soft light that just literally encapsulates all of these rocks. In fact, I actually really love this rock. This rock right here is my favorite. And if you want to know why, it'll be a little hard to see. I'll pull this up here. Does this not look like a beautiful stepping stone plateau to something? Like you could just walk up or down it and look at the water, look at your reflection, or walk up and away. That's a beautiful. I wouldn't even know how to paint that. I wouldn't even know how to think to paint that because my brain wouldn't. I would just make it a chiseled rock. You know, I wouldn't even think about creating steps. That's beautiful. 100% beautiful. I love that. Bring my face back, and now I look good. Yeah, that front rock is beautiful. Hey, what's up, Carrie? How you doing there today? How's everything going on with you? You love the 369? Girl, you know you're fine. Gonna get it to you one more time. Get low. Get low. Get low, get low, get low. Sorry, my club days are coming back when I used to strike out talking to girls, so nothing's really changed. It really does add to a lot, and I do that rule all the time. Mostly, my hands get tired when I paint sometimes. I don't know if you guys get that way, but I use that 3-6 rule, 3-6-9 rule to kind of relax my body, rethink, want to know how I want to tackle a piece and things like that. I am so wise. How's everything going today with you, Carrie? Hopefully you're doing well. All right. I think you did well. I can't wait to see. The only thing I would say is it looked like you're still having trouble, and I still have trouble with this sometimes, with highlights, with a little bit of the sticking. So I would say just practice that. if you have a spare piece of canvas, spare piece of canvas paper, or even cardboard, and you ordered something from Amazon, cut off a sliver of it, gesso the front or back, heck, or both, lay it down, tape it down so it won't move, and just practice putting highlights on it, and learn the motion, and learn the pressure points, and learn the consistency. Because the minute you nail highlights, you are making masterpieces. You've already got the elements and the talent there, and the basics you've moved beyond, obviously. You just need to work on the highlights and shaping those highlights so that way it creates more defined details. You don't always need super defined details. You need the illusion of detail. And you're off to the races for branches, bushes, trees, and all those fun little shapes and stuff. And you got it. You got it. You think oil would be easier? I don't know. Oil's a tough mistress. Oil's a tough mistress. I used to always tell myself and people when I was painting with others, I always thought oil was easy to start and hard to master. And I always thought acrylic was hard to start and easy to master, just because of the way that things go into layering. You can easily layer with acrylics, but you sometimes have a harder time blending depending on what you're trying to blend and painting surface and how much of that surface you're trying to cover. Whereas you can easily blend for days, hours, and weeks with oil, but layering can be a bitch. And it just gets you. Well, at least if you're doing wet on wet painting, when you leave a piece alone for a few hours or a few days or a few weeks with oil, it tackies up and you can layer and it's no problem. It's having patience with oil can be tough. Alrighty, I love this beautiful dude. 2 for 2 of awesome stuff that people are doing. Gosh, you guys are just nailing it. You guys aren't going to need me soon, and then I'm going to feel bad. But then I'll feel happy that you guys are creating beautiful things. But I love all this stuff. Alrighty, who is next out there? If anybody's waiting in the wings, I'm going to move these to a complete folder so that way I don't get confused. And I cannot spell. Alright, so we just did Harry, Lorraine. So I got Ryan Owens, Victoria, but then I got all the things on Instagram that people have sent to me. So if anybody's here, I love doing ones where people are here because then I can give them added advice, or if they have questions, they can do a follow-up on it, which I don't mind. Oh, and Harry, you asked about cherry blossoms, right? When it comes to cherry blossoms, I would say, I think there's a YouTube tutorial out there with a oil painting one, but cherry blossoms are essentially no different than any other tree, other than if you want to cluster, I'm going to use the wrong term here, if you want to cluster the bushels of the flowers at the end of the branches, okay? So cherry blossoms have different ways of going through bloom. And what you want to do is create your trunk and your branches in the shape that you want. And you don't have to make the branches so defined at the ends, because your cherry blossom flowers or bushelings will cover them up. And what I would really recommend is use a reference photo of the design and size, or design and shape that you want, not size. And you want to use I like a permanent red rose when I make cherry blossoms. And the reasons I like permanent red rose is because permanent red rose, when introduced with a liquid base undertone, like a white, turns into a beautiful cascading color of a red to a very light pink. And that's kind of what a cherry blossom does, more or less, is it has this red hue tone, depending on the intensity of the season, will be a red to a light pink. And you can change this color with adding more white or less white to get whatever colors you want. But I kind of just work with it raw. And all you need to do is just literally shape your tree, bring out your branches, and then I like to use a fan brush, or you can use a foliage brush, or you can use a broken filbert, which basically just has some bristles out in certain ways. And you just kind of work in a U shape just at the ends of where your cherry blossoms would sit. And what you can do for an added effect is some cherry blossoms kind of fall and cascade down, kind of like long hair off the top of a head. And you just kind of pull those down into shapes. And you want to push and tap and pull the brush away and keep stippling color in and out. And probably at your experience level at the moment, you're probably going to get one blossom per loading of color. And what you want to do after that per loading of color is wipe it off on a blue shop towel, reload, and work on the next cluster. And just keep repeating that down and across. Now, when you have all the color in there that you want, hence the cherry blossom red or cherry blossom pink, if you want to add a little bit of specular highlight or stamen color or whatever that centerpiece is on a cherry blossom, just take a thin down white on a script liner brush and just go in and just add little flicks on top of the red, and it'll look more like a cherry blossom. And that's it. It's just like adding highlights on a tree. It's just your brain will fill in the rest. Unless you want to do a really close cherry blossom, then you would actually put in like leaves by pushing down with like a filbert and then flicking out, which would create a bigger base of the leaf, and then flick out into nothing, which would create the illusion of a leaf. But you probably were asking for more of like a distant one. Oh, I just clicked on somebody's name and I didn't mean to. You don't know about rules painting it. Hey, well, the cool thing about when you're painting, you can do whatever you want. You know, it's your painting. You do, if you want to break the rules or not follow the rules, that's the cool thing about being creative. Yeah, paint the branches first and then paint the flowers. Because then you'll cover up your mistakes with the flowers that you're going to put on top of your branches. Now, you can do the opposite too, but I would recommend you do the opposite when it's had time to tacky up, because, you know, branches can fall in front of flowers. Just let it tacky up, take a thin down paint, and then start pushing in those branches so that way it will easily go over those leaves and blossoms. You love to go whenever you're done with them. Oh, if you got one, go ahead and toss it in here. I will grab one in the meantime. We've got Victoria. We can do Victoria next. Let me pull that up. Yeah, use the tip of your brush. Use the tip of your brush, especially when you're stippling color. Stippling just is a fancy word for kind of like dotting, like making a bunch of little dots, and then you have like control because you just push in, pull out, 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 push in, pull out. Then you created your shape by just making a bunch of little dots, and it forms a curve or a line or whatever you want. I got to rotate this image here. There we go. Now, I told Victoria I'd do hers. Now, she has hers. It's a lower quality image, as in like the image resolution, and that happens sometimes, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Gotta go mow the yard. It's owning land sucks. You tried to send yours on IG, but I don't know if I did it right. What's your Twitter name? It's Wild for Games. WILD, the number 4, GAMES. I'll take a look here in a second for you to see if it came through. France. I'm a beginner and could use some hard critiques. Hey, I'm really good with that. So this is Victoria. I think she wasn't going to be here, but she sent it to me on Instagram. I don't think she answered all my questions, but she let me know. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where did I put it? She let me know. She works with oil and acrylic. I think she said this landscape here, I'll move my face, is acrylic. She's been doing art her whole life, which she's only 14, so I would say still new artist. This landscape is from June. And or no, wait, this one's from December. Okay. She sent me a newer one, but it was such a small image that I couldn't get it to be a big enough size on her on this. So next time, Victoria, if you're watching out there from the VOD, by the way, hello. Try to get closer with your photo and send it on a bigger resolution if you can. But this is a very cute photo we got here. So it might be a little hard to see, and I know it's I can't get it much bigger without pixelating it, but we'll go for it. So we got a beautiful landscape of a sky, mountainscape in the background, a nice bridge with also what appears to be like a tree line behind the bridge. Then we've got some pine trees on the left, nice little dead winter tree or hibernation tree here on the right. We've got some, I'm assuming snowbanks coming down into a frozen water bank here. Now I'm just going to shrink this a little bit so it's a little sharper for everyone. But the beautiful, beautiful landscape that we have. Let's pull up my beautiful face. Now let's see how we can help. Overall, I think the sky is fantastic. You created a nice light source here in the center, just like that. That's cascading out in all directions. So with that said, you've got a nice pale sky. And pale sky, I kind of mean it's low contrast, which is fine for a nice winter's afternoon, because that would happen with the moisture in the air as it cascades out and across. The part where it fails a little bit, and it doesn't really fail because we haven't fully established it, is I feel like your light source is a little more on the left than it is on the right, which means your light would be cascading down and across this way across your mountains. But if small critique, the way you have it here is just as fine. But since it's so center heavy, I would put a few little added light details and break up your mountain on the shadow side as well, since light is pretty much coming down across it. And then wherever you put that little crack of highlight, you can then put a little shadow underneath it, and that would make your mountains look like it has more dimensions to it. Victoria, really simple change, just like we said with the 3, 6, 9 rule. Take a break when you do your mountains, stand back 3, 6, and 9 feet, and then see where you could add those small little details. If you're not sure where to add those details, just do a quick Google search of mountains, get some reference photos, and then that'll give you some ideas. I do it all the time. It's not cheating using reference photos. You created the nice illusion of mist down here below your mountainscape. However, when you're bringing your mountains down and across, you got to think about these mountains shouldn't all be on the same plane. Some have to be in front, some have to be behind. So when you bring your lines down from your mountains, think about which mountain's going to come down. You kind of just went up, down, up, down, up, down. And then you kind of just drew a line straight across, which makes them all in the same plane, which makes it unpleasing to the eye. All you just need to do is, let's just say this mountain goes here, this mountain goes here, then this mountain comes up and through and both of them. That's not really the correct way of doing things, but you get my idea. Now we've established that this mountain's behind and this mountain's behind, adding more depth, okay? And all you got to do to create that illusion is simply pull this line down further and this line further down, and then it'll create the separation between the two. And we've fixed that nice and easy. Your tree line looks fine. It does look a little slanted, however, which is fine. Trees can grow slanted. You might appreciate it more if you stand straight in front of your canvas, go in and down, in and down, in and down, and then stand again straight in front of your canvas, relaxed hand, and pull up if you want them up. Or when you put them in, you can diffuse them away by stippling again with a nice clean dry brush and add to that illusion effect, because there shouldn't be a lot of detail because it's way in the background. I like what she created here. They're basic mountain shapes, but I get what she was going for. I think the mountains are supposed to just be there, not really adding so much to the painting because it's not the focal point. The bridge is the focal point, but still adding depth is going to help the bridge stand out even more. Then we got your tree section over here on the left, which overall not bad, but it looks like you mud mixed a little bit. So what I would do to cheat, because I like cheating, because it's only cheating if you get caught, is I would paint in these trees here, then I would leave them alone. Since I know this is acrylic paint, I would then move on to my bridge. And while I paint my bridge, this back section here is going to tacky up. And once it's tackied up, it's going to be way, way, way easier for me to lay my highlight layer on top of it, okay? And you want way too heavy. So whatever paintbrush you use, whether it be a angled shader, a flat, or a fan brush, you need to work a little on your shape. It looks like you pushed a little too hard, which means you got fat tops and then even fatter bottoms, which makes your trees kind of square. That can happen in nature, sure, but let's add to the illusion. Is I would start thinner and then go back and add thicker parts where you need to. Work on the basic shape. Create a template for yourself then work wider. It's always easier to go back and add more. It's hell trying to remove, especially with acrylic paint, because it's going to start drying the moment you apply it. Then when it's tacking up, you just do the same thing with the same brush. And remember where your highlight side is. Since it's in the center here, all your highlights should be on more or less on your right hand side as it comes down and across. And then when you go through your paint that mixes on your tree, you can knock that color down and then put that knockdown highlight color on this side, which will give your trees a 3-dimensional shape and really add to the illusion that they are real. Water looks pretty fine. It could use some striation water lines as it comes down, so that way we know that this was once water. Or if you're saying, hey, this is frozen water, that's fine. Just add some of those and then blend them out, and it's going to look like frost frozen lines of water that meant on the shoreline there. It'll add to the illusion there. I would give the same tip for your rocks as we just did with the trees. Put in your rocks, let them tacky up just a tiny bit. Go take a water break, a bathroom break, whatever you need for 5 minutes. Then you can come back and easily put highlights on top of these with a brush you have control over. A very soft fan, a very soft script liner, a very soft pointed round. Any of those would work fantastic to create rock formations and shapes and highlights on top of them. And then the tree's fine. You just need work on branch shapes and how a tree would flow. They're very straight lined, where you kind of just made more or less a pitchfork. Trees are hard. They're hard to critique. If you ever look at a barren tree, they grow in very unique shapes. There's no rhyme or reason. Generally, the only rhyme or reason is they'll grow up to sun, because that's what a tree wants to do. But overall, this looks fine. I would say just think about how thick you want your branches to be in certain places. They're pretty much all the same size everywhere. Generally, the higher you go, the further it is from the root, hasn't had a chance to grow, so they're thinner. So kind of think like the base near the trunk is going to be like thumb shaped. As you get further away, it's going to be like pinky shaped, as in like thickness, I mean. Kind of an easy way of remembering. And then the only bad thing I think you have here, Victoria, is there's no shape in this slope. It all looks like clusters of clouds more or less sitting down here. So what you want to do is, if I were you, I would take a very thin down acrylic paint, white or blue, it doesn't even matter, because you're going to be covering it up, and just scratch in a template of a shape. So if you know you want this, I guess you call this like a river bank or creek bank, which is starting up here, okay? You know it's got to come down this direction. So I would just scratch in a template line and go, okay, there. That's one foreground, and then maybe the next plane comes like that, okay? And then over here, this one comes this way, this one starts here, and that just gives me a visual template of knowing where I need to add highlight and undertone of shadows, the snow peeking through, or sorry, the ice snow or ground peeking through, so that way I can create actual planes and shapes. It looks more like Victoria created clouds because there's so much paint on top of here that it really doesn't add to the illusion of what type of land flow this is. And with acrylic paint, it's actually really, really easy. Since it dries up really quickly, put on your under base of color first, or create that template line first. That's actually easier. Then put on your under base of color, which would be like I would say like a medium blue, and scratch that in. Not everywhere, just in spots where you think shadow should be. Then go back and add your white mid-tone highlight, I would call it. It's a knockdown white, and create the template and the laying of the land and enhance it. Then you should really be able to see what you want to go for. Then go back with some dark blue and really enhance those shadows. Clean off your brush. Then take some stark pure white and go on top of those shadows right above it to where it's going to make specular highlights, and it really creates the flow of the land. And with acrylics, that's all easily done because every time you switch to the next stage, the last stage is already dried. There are some little details where you use a knife. Yeah, you can use a knife definitely for creating water lines, is perfectly fine. I use a knife all the time to create cuts in the land, if you will, or thickness and texture. But I think it looks very, very well. Well done, beautiful. I think you could paint this again. I can't critique a bridge because I can't even paint a bridge. To be fair, though, I don't like man-made objects really in my painting. It's just who I am. I like nature because I live in a city, so I like seeing nature, but that's just my own personal preference. The bridge looks more or less balanced. The U shape could probably use some help, I would probably recommend using the template of something like a cutout or a protractor or even like half of a can. But the fence on it, all that looks fantastic. So good job, Victoria. Well done. I can't paint a bridge, so I can't critique a bridge. I've painted one bridge in my life. It turned out well, and I called it quits. So I went out battling 1,000 on that. I nailed one, and I'm done. Okie dokie. Who wants to go next? V-Tapper, you said you had one? Let me see who else we got up in here. We got so many. So many on the Instagram pushes. Let me grab. Oh, I got Ryan Owens one too. So let me move this one here. Move that to complete. We can pull Ryan Owens up here as well. Oh, excuse me. So if V-Taper, you want to submit one. So I got submissions on Instagram. Oh, wait. Somebody said they submitted on Twitter too. Let me check a look at those. Oh, I got more than a few on Twitter. Dang. You guys are sending so many. This is awesome. I didn't think I was this popular. Oh, France. Oh, no, wait. There it came through. I was going to be like, your photo didn't come through. It just shows blank, but it took a while for it to load. Never mind. All right. V-Taper, what is yours on Instagram? And also, I got France on Instagram too. Because I got Oils with Mick, Ryan Tonder, France, Tobias, Jarnero, Cosmo D, and Kevin. So I guess let me know which one is you, and then we can go from there. But we'll do Ryan. This is Ryan Owens. We'll do right now. His is actually very simple. He did two that he submitted to me. If he was going to be here, I was going to do the tree one, which actually, Ryan, if you do watch this, and you're watching the VOD, first of all, hello, thanks for the support. Number two is that tree was pretty damn fantastic. I didn't have many critiques on it that I could see. I'm sure I could find something if I blew it up here on the stream a little bit bigger, but I felt like I could probably help a little bit more with the landscape one we're about to take a look at. Oh, Luffy, you Ryan T? Okay, cool. Remind me, we'll get Tobias. I'll load yours up here. So that way I'll get it for the next one. So let's take a quick look at Ryan's, and then Luffy, or Luffy, we can queue you up for one as well. So this one is Ryan Owens. Let's switch over there. Now it's another small image. That's what happens sometimes when people submit. So this is just a basic landscape. And to be honest, I love basic. I love simplistic. Sometimes they're the most impactful things. They look great on a wall. They look great in a room. They look great everywhere. Sometimes when you get complex, it's too much for the eye. So we have a very muted sky that's very hazy, cascading down onto like mesas and plateaus of our, God, what would you call these? I don't want to say like dirt hills, but that's the only word I could think of. I can't think of like what you would see like in this land, like highlands or lowlands, like very dry ones though. And you got a nice little light source cascading out and across. You got a nice little mid-ground of what appears to be another highland or lowland or mountain or hillside. And then a straight line across with fields of either like grain, grass, or weeds, or a combination of all. But it's very simplistic. It's a little hard to see on your guys' probably side, but it looks like it has a lot of paint texture with flicks to create grass, which we'll get into a second. So let's take a look here. The first thing I notice is I'm sure it was intentional, but excuse me, I apologize. The contrast in this is extremely low until we get to the very bottom, like right here in the painting. Now that could be by choice. Now if that's by choice, completely fine. But if it wasn't fully by choice, this painting would benefit from a lot more contrast or cascading of contrast through the painting. We can easily see that our light source is established behind this little mountain or ridge here, okay? Which means our light would be cascading out this way, then it would essentially be blocked here, okay? But since the sun is so strong and intense, whoops, didn't mean to do that, light would then wrap around in this general way, or it would hit some clouds and reflect back down and across, okay? That's what happens with light. So with that said, is there should be a concentration more of light on this side and less under it, which would create a cool contrast and focal point. Since our light is, it's got to be behind here, even though this is a light color here, you want to fade across, which you kind of did. This is Ryan. Oh, my name. Beautiful name. What you kind of did here with this little mountain range. You started with a nice little hazy mountain range, and then it cascaded down and across and got darker and more sharp, which is what would happen. However, you got to do the same thing on this side here. Since the light's going to wrap around, there should be a nice little haze glow here, and then as it gets further and further away, there's going to be a stark contrast of darkness because light hasn't been able to hit it as intense as it does on this ridge line here where that light source is behind. And that's something that's easily forgettable. What probably would really help is if you had a reference photo, so that way you can see how the light cascades and envelops a certain area. It also looks like you tried to put like a cloud element in here, and it's really hard to tell. The color is so muted between your gray sky and the cloud that they almost don't even look noticeable, which is fine. But what I would probably do is if it's going to have that transition, I would probably just create an absent cloud with a gradient. I would most likely just take, let's just say this is a light gray color, like a light gray haze. I would paint this in, then leave gaps of my undertone of my canvas of my white base, if there is a white base, and then take my 2-inch brush and blend and leave those gaps and leave that section white, which would lead to the illusion of clouds. And then if you wanted to add more white or cover up the texture of the canvas or the pitting or the toothing, then just put white in that area and then just blend it in, and there you got it. I think that'd be a lot easier, quicker, and also the fact that it would make the canvas have less layers of paint. So when you do paint other elements, like adding more shadow detail or the highlight of cascading of light color, it's easier to control because there's less layers on there. That's the advice I would give Ryan. You did a pretty damn good job, dude, of creating.
Not sure I understand.
Nobody cares, Surreys, as you look at my phone or my wrist. The other thing is, I think you could probably take away some of the detail that you have here. Now, I understand that this is the furthest point of our midground, and then this midground here is a little bit closer, so you should see a little more detail. But the detail here and the detail here is almost the same, but those are separate planes in my mind, and I'm pretty sure in the viewer's mind too. So I would break those up a little bit by not adding as much. Plus, this is the same color as this, and you probably want to have a diffusion layer between or some kind of breakup between the planes there to make it look more. And then I really do love the grass that you put in here. However, it's just so flat. But it could be flat because it could just be a rolling hill or valley that leads up onto this plateau of looking down. And I think if that is what Ryan was trying to do, then taking some detail out of this midground would help a lot create that illusion. I love the grass that you created. Either it looks like it's flicks with a fan brush in certain spots, or it looks like tapping with a 1 or 2-inch brush. The thing that I think that would really add to Ryan's painting here is because you have essentially 1/3. So if we divided this painting to thirds, it looks like 1, 2, more or less there. So we got a third here, we got a third here, and we got a third here. Other than this middle section, this is extremely flat, and then this is extremely flat. I just made 2 boobs. It always comes back to that. What you need to do for your bottom portion, Ryan, when you watch this, hopefully you do, is you need to have some difference in colors or difference in shadows or difference in highlights. Even though this might be a rolling hill of grass or weeds or whatever you want it to be, is there should be like different sections where light hits it because grass was healthier there. There's less water or more water. You got more nourishment, less nourishment. And if you create just like some simple planes of highlights and shadows there, it'd all still be rolling up. It would just have a little more pizzazz, best word I could think of off the top of my head, to it that would really make it stand out. And like you can see, like this area stands out a little bit more because it's got more shadow to it, and then this area has less shadow to it. If this cascaded in that general direction, I think it would help, or if it cascaded up, it would generally help. But other than that, dude, I think it looks really well. I think it's a little bit of a flat painting. If we transfer this to black and white, you can see, like we said, each third section is dull in its own way. So that 1/3 up here, I guess I could have just done the same thing I did before. Oops. This third up here is all dull for that 1/3. This third is all matching to the same, and then this third down here is all matching the same. And that leads to a flatter-ish painting. So if you could just think about how you can add a little more depth into that painting, Ryan, I think you'll have a fantastic paint. I would love to see you paint that again. Since it's so simplistic, it'll be super rewarding when you make it have all of those dimensions to it. Awesome. Alrighty. Now who do we have next? Now who wants to go up? We handled the first 4. I'll probably have to grab a couple from Instabam if I can find where my... There we go. All right, so I remember one was Kevin, I believe, right? We pulled it up here. Let me move this over here. We got Tobias and Ryan T. Okay. So let's see what I can find. So Tobias, we got there. Got to accept. Can I pull? Make this easy for me. I got to look at that on Tobias and Ryan. I hate how I have to pull these. It'd be so much easier if Instagram was more integrated with doing stuff. Okay, so I got to pull these over. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, so Ryan, gonna pull yours. Oh, I'm gonna have to screen grab it. Oh, crap, no, come back. So you sent yours as a message one. That's why I didn't pop through, Ryan. Next time, just send it just as a normal photo, not like one of those timed things. That's why I couldn't grab it easily. And Tobias, ooh, look at how fancy these are. Okay, Tobias, I'll let you pick, my friend. Do you want your waterscape or do you want your winterscape one? You tell me. And then Kevin D, which one was you? Kevin, oh, right there at the top. Accept. Move this over. Ooh, we got a nice Aurora Borealis one. All right, we'll move that one over. Cool and cool. And let me just mail these two to me really quick. Easiest way of doing it. Guess I could Dropbox them too. That wouldn't be a bad idea. All right, let me send these. The waterscape one is the newest one. Okay. I'll grab that one for you, buddy. All right, photo save. You hope you get answers of grassy mountains and sea waves next time. I haven't painted an oceanscape in a while, and I need to because I get requests for them all the time. The reason I don't paint them as much, as if you're wondering, is I live near the ocean, and so I see it all the time. So I kind of take it for granted a little bit, and I love to paint things I don't see, which is why I love to paint mountains and snow. I don't really get to see snow in Southern California. It only comes around every so often because it's so warm here. So it's super special to me when I get to see it, which is why I like it so much. Or which is why I like to paint it so much. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. You know, if you didn't live near the ocean, you probably love to paint waves and whatnot. All right. Mailing these ones to me. Hopefully. Yours is under Cosmo D, Ryan. Okay, cool. I'll grab that one after these. There we go. I'm just sending to me now. Yeah, seascapes are great. They're super fun and super rewarding. It's just, I I'm literally 15 minutes from the ocean and some of the best in Southern California. And I'm like, I see it all the time. I just want to go and play and have fun there. I'm like, I never get to see mountains. I never get to see snow. I want to paint those. I don't see pine trees around here unless I travel 2 hours away and whatnot. But I love all of it. I just love nature. It's so much fun. Okay, now I just got to pull these down. Sorry for the little bit of a break there, but it's cool. We get to chit chat with each other and have a good old-fashioned fun time. All right, sent. Okay. I'm going to forget who's who now on these. All right, downloading them, moving them over. Okay, now who was who? All right, Tobias is the seascape. Okay, and then we had Kevin D was the Aurora. Kevin D. And Ryan, you were this one. All right. A lot of Ryans today. A lot of cool peeps. Okay. Let's get it going. Oh yeah, Alphonse, remind me after these ones. We're in a flow now, so they'll go a little bit quicker with everyone unless there's some big problems. Okay, let's start with Tobias. Let's move this over, get to the review, click on that. Now I can see everybody again. Hellos. Okay, let's duplicate that. Let's increase this so you guys can see. I'll move it a little bit over here. So we got a beautiful, beautiful seascape. First of all, I love the blending of colors and gradients on this. This is super dope, super dope. Oh. So we got a beautiful seascape here. Almost looks like Southern California with a moving into sunsetty times here with our hills in the background and midground on our left-hand side with a nice little misunderstood palm tree all by its lonesome self with some turbulent waters and a mighty crashing wave splashing up onto our sand bank here. So let's take a look and see what we can find here. First of all, your gradients are beautiful. Now, some people don't like banded gradients. And what I mean by banded is you got a band of color, a band of color, and a band of... I actually kind of like it. Now, that's completely up to me. If you wanted to blend this in a little bit more between your yellow and your red, and let's just say your hazy, dark, purple gray here, you could. So that way there's a more natural transition. That's an opinion, something you'd think about if you want. I don't mind it. I would say the band of color between the purple and the red is fine. And then maybe I would blend a little bit more of the yellow and red. I would actually pull the yellow into the red. So that way you get a more of an orangey color. So that way it doesn't overtake the yellow when you pull the red down into the yellow, because that's what will happen. That's the only critique I would have. And you could probably even add just a little bit of white, wherever you think, Tobias, wherever you think the light is most intense. If your light is over here or over here, add a little bit of white, That's that last moment of glimmer of that sun saying goodbye to where it's going to have a specular little bright light just pop up. Just something simple that'll add to a little bit of illusion. Or if you're going to say your sun is this white spot, that can't be. And here's the reason why is if this is the most intense thing on Earth, or not Earth, in our solar system, which is the sun, your yellow would actually cascade from here, and then your red would cascade out from there, and then your black and purple would cascade out from there. So next time, I would probably just remove the sun. It's not really adding to anything. Your sun would have to be down here because it's setting. You've established that your light is cascading and setting. So that's just one note. I would say you have an intensity. Hey Sylvia, how you doing there today? It is beautiful. I would say you have. I don't know how to say this. Your clouds don't suck. You have the right movement and flow. You just need to start with less paint. And here's the problem that you have is this cloud, and this cloud, and even these little wispy ones are all fine because they're done with less amounts of paint. less amounts of paint, and then when you blend them in, they have movement and flow and characteristics. However, the ones that you have up top here, which is the ones you started with first, because I could probably tell that they're first, is they have layers on top that don't flow. They're defined layers of dense pockets that don't work because the densities don't go in any particular order. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. They do go in a particular order, and that's the problem, is they're all sitting on top like a crust on top of like a cake or pie or whatever you want. And we don't want that. Clouds are free. Clouds are free. So you need to pull a little bit of these crowns down into the body, so that way it gives it more of a free shape. And this is really, really easy to fix. So let's say, Tobias, you did this with a fan brush. First of all, use a thin amount of paint. I don't mean thin. Sorry, I'm using the wrong terminology. A little amount of paint. When I mean thin, I mean like a thin layer of paint on your bristles. And the reason I want you to do that is because we can always add more, and we can always add more, and we can always add more to make them more dense, okay? And just scratch that in. I don't have my paintbrush here, but I got a pen. Hold further back on the paintbrush. What that's going to allow you to do is use that whole shaft and be more free. It's going to allow you to use your hand, your wrist, your forearm, and even a little bit of your shoulder. But you stand still, and it's going to allow you to have this free movement in there. If you want your clouds to be flatter or wispier, then have that free movement and just work left and right more as opposed to up and down. And it's going to just look like cat scratches, which is fine. That's exactly what you want. And then once you have that established little amount of paint color in there, take a 1 or 2 inch brush and just slightly blend it in, and then stand back and look at it. You're going to notice that body of the cloud is more free. It's going to have dense pockets. It's going to have thin pockets. It's going to have clusters. It's going to have wisps. And it's going to have so much more free movement in there that it's going to pay off. Right now, your clouds just have this defined crust on top. And it really pulls away from the illusion of that cloud. But now that you know how to fix it, you can easily do it. If you were trying to add some shadow to it, which is probably what you were trying to do, I would say don't add shadow as a thin line. Add just another layer of that little amount of paint towards the top of the cloud, so that way you have one layer for the cloud and one layer for the let's just call it the crust, since that's what you built. One layer for the crust, but then pull that cloud crust down into that body, so there's a better transition, and that'll create the illusion of shadow because your light source is cascading up into the cloud, which is what I'm sure you were trying to achieve. Oh, deleted the layer there. Excuse me. Little burpy worpy. Dude, the watercolor is beautiful, which we'll get to. So the sky, pretty darn good, dude. Excuse me, I got a cough. I'd be rolling with all this information so much. Your background hills, which are represented by this purple here, which are the same color as your clouds, perfectly fine, by the way. The only thing I would change there is, since it's in the background, it doesn't need to have a lot of detail. However, since something is setting behind it, the most intense light we have in our solar system, the sun, it's still pushing an amount of intense light behind it out towards essentially us in our perspective. So you still need to have an edge to it, okay? It would still have an edge because it's silhouetting to us. Every silhouetted object generally has a defined edge. So all you need to do is, this is where I always recommend get an angled shader, dude. This will be a lifesaver. Put a little bit of that purple color on there and create, it looks like you have three. I'm going to make it 3. You have 1, 2, 3. All you need to do is with that angle shader, start with the back one first, please. Put in those 3 shapes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now wipe off that brush and pull out that color completely. Now pull that color down in the angle that you want. And when you pull it down in the angle that you want, it's going to fade naturally into the background. It's going to create the illusion of light cascading down the base, creating separation, but still have that little bit of defined upper edge so it stands out. But since it's that light blue color, it's going to look hazy, and it's going to match perfectly into that background with your purple clouds, okay? That's all you need to do. And then when you bring this layer, which is let's say a grassy cliff, that would cut down and across just like you did, just like that. All right. What I would say is you obviously know you had mud mixing going on with your cliff here. So one of two things. I would either, if you're struggling with mud mixing, Darnella? Is that the name, Darnella? Thank you for the sub. I appreciate the love that you got. Forgot, I lost my train of thought because of a bouncing dinosaur. If you suck with mud mixing, and I suck with it at times too, here's what I would do. Save the shitty things that you do for where you can have the most concentration and control of them, okay? This mid-ground is too small of a working surface space for you, okay? Let's save it for here, and let's increase this size a little bit, all right? We'll get back on this in just a second. So with this cliff here, make it just a cliff. Take some dark color and take your knife or that angled shader and just pull it down into our water, and then just take some highlight color and just either you can paint break it in with a knife or an angled shader or a flat or a round, and just pull in some striations with some highlight and just leave it there. It's in the midground. It doesn't need a lot of detail. Just give it a little bit at the top where it comes down and across, and leave it just as that. You can make it a beautiful dark Van Dyke brown, which is what we'd have here in California. We have a lot of brown cliffs that are eroded away before they hit the ocean side. That would look beautiful there, and just leave it. It's just an accent, okay? Then we could put our grassy hill here and work on the grass and highlight colors. So that way you can work on it, and then we just work on layers. So you could do 1 layer, 2 layers, and then maybe a 3rd layer right there. Your palm tree doesn't look that bad. Just needs a little bit of a lighter touch. That's all I could say about it. I think the palm, because palms have like, I don't know what they're called, but they're like sectionals as they build up. So it's like one section, one section, one section, one section, one section, one section that of what it makes up the bark and the trunk. So you did a fantastic job there. You struggled a little bit with how you want your palm tree to flow. Generally 5 palms is a good number. Always work in odd numbers. It's more pleasing to the eye. 3 is too small for what you have. If you made 3 bigger ones, to make palm fronds, if you will, what I do is I like to create template lines, which is that shaft that's in the middle of the frond, that spray out, is take your fan brush and create a line, okay? That's the arc of the line that you're gonna follow. Now reload your brush, and you're going to pull in, or sorry, you're gonna push in so it pushes out the bristles of that fan brush, and then move to the center. And then you just keep doing that as you follow that same arc. And it's going to make these fronds that go in, and fronds that go in, and fronds that go in. And then you do it on the bottom side too, and you do the same exact motion. And you pull in, so you go flat, and then pull in. Flat, and pull in. And you always want to work it to the base of that arc, because that's what happens with a palm frond. And that's it. And then once you've done one, wipe off and clean that brush and repeat, okay? And you keep the motion of the arcs all going the same way. And the reason you do that is palm frond leaves, whatever you call each individual strand, are very weak. They flow and flutter in the wind. So if the wind generally is most likely pushing away or pushing from the ocean to the shoreland, they'd be going in the direction that you push. They'd be going from right to left. So all of your palm fronds should be going in that general direction. This one is going this way. This one, and then these two are going this way. So all you need to do, and I know what you're trying to do, you're trying to like spread it out, you know? I get it. But this one, you should have made this arc, and then you could have had one come here, and then you could have had one come that way if you wanted to, and then maybe another one if you wanted 5, and then spread them out. Or if you wanted your 3, I probably would have put one here, and then maybe like one here. Maybe 4 would have been better, but who knows. But that's all you need to do. Just push them in the same direction because the wind would be pushing it that way. Now, as for the ocean color looks really, really well. The only thing that kind of stands out a little bit is you could have taken a little bit of this aqua color and put it a little bit behind here. When waves curl and pearl over. Light goes through the back end of the tube, which is that breaking point, and that's the light that's coming through, another angle that's coming through to create this beautiful glow. So light doesn't just hit the forefront of a wave to create this aqua, it's also hitting the back of that tubing section and cascading through and creating this illusion as well, because it's pulling up thinner layers of water. So adding a little bit of this aqua, which would fade off into the black, would create the illusion of depth as well. So don't forget to put, and this can be easily correctable. What if this is a phthalo green or a phthalo blue? Just add a little bit of that back in here and pull it back, and it'll look beautiful. Other than that, I think it looks super fantastic. The curl of your wave could use a little bit more. So those foam lines that go up, you just got to pull them up into the motion of how the wave will curl, which you kind of did. You just got to curve them up and around a little bit more. You probably could have added a little bit of yellow back here, which would have accented beautifully in the eye of that curl. And let's see here. Your wave's not lined up correctly, but it's pretty damn close. It could have flowed up and down and crashed like that. And don't forget, waves spit. They spit water because there's so many little things coming off. You could have stippled in a little bit of color for it to stand out. And since this wave is technically crashing right here, there should be a fuck ton of mist coming off. This is like literally crashing on a cliffside. So just remember that next time. So what you can do for a template is when you bring your wave up, Tobias, so bring your wave up, you can literally paint this in with a thin down paint with paint thinner as a template, because you can paint on top of it, because that'll be easy because it'll evaporate in time. Is just take your line, go in, curve, and S-curve it up just like that. So you know you got to bank it up for some spray, because whenever you paint on top of it, it'll cover up nice and easily. And that's all you got to do. And then this looks beautiful. You could add just a little bit more white on top of to create the illusion of foam. I would break up these three lines. You got three even lines here. This one actually is pretty damn good. I like this last one's really good. But you got tiger claws. You got three tiger claws going across. Now that you see it, you'll notice it. So all you got to do is what you did here. See how you created like these apex of squiggle lines? You just need to do that in here. Like maybe this one comes way up and this one comes down, and then squiggles there. It would just break up a lot of what you have. Beautiful wet sand. Beautiful cascading of the water coming over the sand, by the way. And you could put, rather than stipple in some watermarks, which these might try to be stones, you'd probably want to put in some slashes of watermarks. But dude, this is dope. Your water looks beautiful, and I can tell you're proud of it, because look how much emphasis you put on it. And then maybe to balance it out, I'd put a little rock. Maybe I'd put two rocks. You know, maybe a rock is getting splashed by the water to give it some stuff. What you really need help on is your sticking your paint on top of other layers of paint. Because not only are you mud mixing, you're contaminating your paint, Tobias, to where it becomes a muted, throw up baby poopy color. And it's not pleasing. Now, that could be the color you're going for, but you got the same color here, 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 and here. And while I can agree that color might be fine for the background because it should be more muted, I would say give a little more vibrance and saturation to this little foreground element. And all palm fronds are a bright green. Like, they're either bright, almost like as bright as this green here, or the color you see on screen, or they're almost yellow because they're getting sun bleached. Very, very rarely are they a brown green unless they're dying or fading out. And if they are, then they're usually hanging a little further down on the from. But I love this. I think your water's fantastic. So I would actually I'd love to see you paint this again. Now, if I could give you some advice, V-Taper, here's what I would do. Sky, you fucking nailed it. Just blend a little bit more of that yellow into the red, and you'll get a beautiful orange. And I think you'll love that. Eliminate the sun. Okay, we don't need the sun. Only paint 3 clouds. 3 clouds in the way I told you. Scratched in, be free and loose. Blend it into the background so that way they're just elements. They're not really focal points. We nailed 1/3 of the painting already. Now use that same color, use that angle shader to create the background hills. Remember shape and perspective and size. That'll add to the illusion. Then, fuck it. We don't need this. We don't need this mid cliff here, okay? I would just take what you have for your background purple mountains, bring it here. 1, 2, 3. Nailed it, all right? Nice and easy. We eliminated your shitty, hardest thing that you struggle with, and we're going to concentrate on the more foreground of where you have more surface area to practice it, okay? Horizon line's fine. Water is more or less fine. Just add a little more of that aqua. And then I would start your wave apex curl like here, okay? So bring that wave up and then curl it down so that way you have more room for your cliff for it to spray on. Then bring that cliff down and right up into here and then bring it across, okay? Then you can bring all of your water down and in, and now you've got extra space to work on this cliff side, okay? Then make it more of a cliff, add a little bit of grass highlights and weeds up on top of that, put in your trunk, work on those palm fronds, throwing the same way. Think about color and contrast to make it separate out, and then you got a beautiful painting, dude. You nailed so many of the things. I think if we just eliminated, you just tried to do a little too much. And I think if we take away some of the things that really deter from the painting, I think you'll make something that's fantastic. But dude, super dope. I love the colors in this one, by the way. Do you live near the ocean? V-Taper? You actually did the clouds with a 1-inch brush. It was my first time trying clouds with it. Oh, nice. It actually looks like for, like I can see how you did a 1-inch up here, but these almost look so thin. Like I don't know how you did this with a 1-inch brush. This has to be like a thinner brush down here unless you're just like literally holding it flat. That's probably how you got the crust on the top, is you probably dipped your brush in to your mixing pellet, held it at an angle, and all the paint was sitting up here on these top bristles. So when you're painting in, it was just like adding extra layers on top, which is probably what happened. Yeah, if you had a sun, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. If you had a sun, you probably would need a reflection. Granted, sometimes, depending on the perspective of where your viewpoint is, the reflection could just be the white caps of what you see of the specular highlights. But true, I say you just lose the sun completely. I think the painting doesn't even need it. The focal point is obviously the wave. So I wouldn't want my eye to be distracted by the sun. I want to direct the eye. That's the power you have as an artist. Is you're the conductor. You get to conduct where the focal points should be. It's phthalo green plus phthalo blue. Phthalo green and phthalo blue is a beautiful combination. If anybody out there is listening to my voice, and if you want to create a seascape, you must have phthalo green. Hey, Stephanie White, thank you for the love. Phthalo green is the most beautiful aqua combination color I've ever seen. It just flows so beautifully. It adds so much. You live very close to Stillwater, cannot be called an ocean. I imagine a lake or a dam, perhaps. I live close to the oceans and a few lakes. I'm very, very lucky to see a lot of water. This is beautiful, dude. I think you did a fantastic job, dude. I would love to see you paint that again. Love, love, love. And if you do, please send it to me. I would love to see a before and after. Every time I do a critique on here, everybody should always paint the same thing. Again, you'd be amazed at how well your second painting comes out. And I mean like not 2 times better, not 5 times better, not 10 times better, like 50 times better. You're like, dude, I can't believe I painted that first one. That looks like crap. And then you're like, yeah, because you learned everything. Oh, dude, I'd love to. Please, if you do paint it, send it to me. All right, we got Kevin D. Kevin D, you still here, buddy? We're going to do you next. I wish I had a microwave right here so I could just put in my coffee. It's getting a little lukewarm. Thank you for sharing our. First of all, I'm out of the groove. It's been a while since I've done these, and I apologize because I know you guys like them. I don't get a huge turn up, but I have fun lending my knowledge, and we get to share things. But I forgot to say at the end of each person that I review, thank you for letting us see your art. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for handling it well. If I tease or make fun, I do it out of the good nature of my heart, but I don't mean anything by it. I just love to have fun and get you guys all to smile and try harder. And thank you guys all for the support that you give. You can always support the channel by, obviously, if you haven't had a chance yet, subscribing. For everybody that submitted their artwork on Twitter and Instagram, I would thank you kindly if you could follow me on those platforms, or if you haven't, followed me on Instagram and Twitter. And you can always send a super thanks or become a YouTube channel member, even at the low price of $1. It helps me a lot. And all that just gets put right back into the channel. Not sure what I'm going to try to upgrade next. Obviously, I always... Hey, thank you, Mortuary, for the light touch. I always need more painting material, but I really want to get another light, and I want to get a wireless microphone. I still work off a wired microphone, which has been going well. There's a new one out, but it's expensive. It's like $250. Wireless microphones are so expensive. But it's worth it if I can bring better commentary to you and better angles. I really want to work. There's this camera system out there. I don't think it's that great, but I really want to try it. It's a 3-point wireless camera system, and it's on a GoFundMe right now. And I can't even think of the camera name, but it all goes into one patch recording. So you can set one up for you, your canvas. Thank you for becoming a member, Mortuary. I appreciate the love. You can set up one for you, your canvas, and then your mixing palette. And then when you bring in an editing software, it all puts it on separate tracks, and you can like tell it which ones to edit to. And I was like, damn, dude, that'd be dope. I get asked all the time, like, hey, can you show me how you mix colors? Or can you show me how you load your brush? And when I first started painting, I'm like, nobody's going to want to see that, dude. I'm like, hey, okay, we're going to use titanium white. I'm like, I told you what I'm using, but people are like, I want to see how you load it and how you swab it in and how you do. I'm like, okay. And it's like, I understand. Like, a lot of mistakes can be made from improperly loading your brush or improperly mixing your colors. Or people are like, hey, I want to do an exact replica of what you want, which to me, it's okay. I don't care if you copy, but it's more like a guideline. It's like, hey, if your red's not the exact same red, that's fine. Or if you mix yours marbly or all the way through, that's fine too. It is what it is. You'd love to see more of these assessments, Kenneth? I was trying to do them once a week or once every other week, but life got in the way. I just got busy with work and friends and dating and house stuff, and then sometimes you just get tired and you're just like, I can't do it. But I'm going to try to do it more often. As long as people keep showing up, I will do them. Nothing's worse than me sitting here talking to no one. I can do that on one of my Bumble dates. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, cool. All right. That was fun. Oh, well, I'm glad I can help you, and thanks for helping me. All right. Kenneth, we got you up here, dude. Or is it Kenneth or Kevin? Kevin, sorry. Kevin. Yes, I've only been painting for a few months. This is my 10th painting or so, and I used oil. So let's take a look. Oh, best thing I love about Kevin, he's got the Amazon Prime box in the background there. Hopefully you're using my links. I appreciate it if you do. But this is a smart way to protect your housewares and protect everything. So we've got a beautiful painting here of the Aurora Borealis. We got our mountains and one hell of a tree that's gone through a nuclear disaster. We got our horizon line here with our distant trees. And then we got water and or a black abyss. I love what you have here. You got a lot of mistakes, but that's fine. That's fine, dude. We're going to fix them all for you. Now, before we start critiquing Kevin, I'm going to tell you, Kevin, pull out a little notepad, and we're going to just make some bullet points of some things, because I already want you to paint this again, because I can already tell you're going to dominate the next painting. Okay? First tip. This is obviously on a black canvas, which I'm sure Kevin gessoed himself. So good job. First tip. When you're using your liquid clear or any clear medium for that fact, since you're gessoing the canvas once, you're sealing the canvas already. So you need an extremely low amount of liquid clear or any liquid medium. So put on that liquid medium and use a little bit. Then I want you to take your paintbrush and hold it like a fork and knife, I guess you can. And I want you to hold it on the side and scratch all that color in. then use the surrounding light and look at the angles. You should see like the glow or the glisten of all that oil in there, and scratch it all in everywhere, every inch of that canvas. Now that canvas is coated, but not perfectly coated. Then I want you to take one of those blue shop towels, and yes, I want you to buy a blue shop towel, wad it up into a nice little square, and gingerly go across the entire canvas from top to bottom. That's going to get the residual oil pockets out of that canvas. You don't have to rub it in, just kind of let it glide across, more or less. And you remove it, you're going to see you pulled out all the residual oil. Now you have a perfectly prepped canvas, okay? Now we can put on our base tones of colors, and you can pick whatever colors you want for your Aurora Borealis. The world is your oyster, okay? We're just going to stick with red and blue because that's what you used. Now, try creating bands of color, okay? Here's what I would do. I guess I can show you rather than use my hands. I'm a dum-dum. Okay, so let's divide this into thirds. 1/3, another third, and another third. 1, 2, and 3, okay? For this center section, I want you to paint this let's just say all blue and a little bit up here and a little bit up here, okay? Then I want you to paint this top section red and red, okay? Now you're like, well, that's way too much red. It's not. It is not. And here's why. Is because this blue, super powerful. So here's what you do after that. After you've put in the color, you don't need a lot, by the way. Just scratch it in with your 1-inch brush. Start with the blue, then go to the red in that top and toe section. I don't know why you're trying to talk to me, Siri. Then take your 2-inch brush, and I want you to push in and cross stroke all of this blue in the center, okay? Cross stroke it just like that. And then I want you to push that blue up to right about here, okay? Then I want you to push that blue down to right about here. What's going to happen is it's going to start mixing with that red a little bit and start making a beautiful transition of purple. Beautiful transition of purple, okay? Once you get to where those red lines are, take your brush off the canvas, pull out all the color, make it nice and clean, and then blend the red down. I'm going to delete this layer real quick. Duplicate it. Then start blending the red with cross strokes in these sections here. Make it nice and smooth. Then you're going to pull the top down and pull the bottom up right to where those lines are again. Do not go all the way into the blue too much, okay? We want to keep that nice, beautiful color. Now you've got this transparent gradient that you can't see just yet. You will when we apply color, but it's going to have these beautiful gradient transitions within it, okay? That all we have to do is establish color. Now, whatever brush you feel most comfortable with, most of you are out there going to feel most comfortable with a fan brush. You're going to take your color and just create these beautiful lines. Now, I like it when I flare my lines, okay? Personal opinion, you can do it if you want. And what I mean by flare is you're going to take your fan brush, you're going to keep it in a straight line. And then as you start working in that, I'll do this on a bigger screen. You're going to keep it in a straight line, okay? And like, let's say your mountain's like here-ish, or my microphone is my mountain, okay? Boop, boop. Your microphone's mountain. You're going to start in a straight line and work up. And then as you work up towards the top of your canvas, you're going to start turning your fan brush so it exposes more of the fan, okay? Represented by my fingers. So you're going to go up, start turning as you get to the top, expose all of them, and flare up and out. It's going to make that band fatter. It's kind of like a chemtrail behind a plane, okay? Is what you're going to do. What that does is that's going to give us more room to work with when making an Aurora Borealis. It's going to have this beautiful fanning effect that we'll be able to pull up. Art of Shenanigans, thank you for the light touch. I appreciate the beauty that you have. And you just repeat that 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, however much you want your Aurora Borealis to have, okay? But just create those fans. So boom, boom, and boom. Now you've got these beautiful ways of creating color that you have. And since we put the color down, it's going to start showing right away. Now, every time you create one of those trails, wipe off your brush with that white and reload it with a little bit of white to pull the color in, because you don't want to pull that blue and red back into the blue and red. It's just going to get duller and duller every single time. Then from there, You can take whatever brush you have control, probably your fan brush after clean up, and you can straight swipe up to create whatever illusion you want. Aurora Borealis don't always go up. They can go in every different shape. So you can even pull like down a little bit or left and right. They're cascading of wavy neurons and electrons and gooey, ooey, slimy thingy bobbers that look in the sky. They're beautiful. So you can make them whatever direction you want. Generally up is normal for most people, but you can go up and down a little bit. And then if you want to, you can even fade it a little bit at the top with a 2-inch brush, but leave this center section a little more tight and controlled. And then there, you got your Aurora Borealis, dude. All said and done, don't touch it. Leave it alone for the rest of the painting. Now, if I were you, I would move my mountains that I have here. I would move them up, and I would probably start them like right around here-ish and then cast them down and not cross. Reason is because we're going to have more room to do stuff in the water in a moment here. Now, your mountains aren't bad. They're atrocious. Solid burn. No, they're not bad. It's just the problem is you made pyramids, and that's okay. We all start by making pyramids. So how do we correct it? Well, I made a video on how to paint mountains, and I would really recommend you watch that video in its entirety if you haven't, or if you've watched it before, watch it again, because you made 2 cardinal sins, more or less, okay? You have 2 mountains here that are on the same peak plane, and then you have 2 mountains that are more or less on the same, almost 3 mountains that are kind of on the same peak plane, and it just doesn't add to anything. It makes it look like a kindergarten, and I don't mean that as an insult. It's just we can easily fix it. Artist Shenanigans, thank you so much for that love. I appreciate the dancing dinosaur going up and down. So here, how do we fix it? Easy, okay? I want you to start right about, am I on? Yeah, I'm on a brush, okay. I want you to start right about here where I made this little small X, okay? And this isn't the top of our mountain. This is gonna create our slope up into the mountain. That's how my brain works. It's easier for me. So if you have an angled shader or a palette knife, this is way easier, by the way. We're gonna start here. We're gonna go up. We're gonna come down. We're gonna come down just like this. Put a little crack fissure. Maybe it comes up and slope off. Okay. One mountain, one beautiful mountain with maybe a little bump in here. You can even like even this out if you want to keep it nice and simple. Then, okay, we'll just fade that down and across. Okay. Well, let's put another mountain. We're gonna come up, down, and that guy goes right there. 2 mountains. We're done. We're done. Rather than having to worry about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mountains, we now have more space to concentrate with our palette knife, our brain, our idea, and create a beautiful template that's going to work for you. Okay? 2 mountains, just fixed it. Now what I want you to do is take your palette knife, flip it over to the point, and I want you to take that knife and scratch in literally a template line, just like that. Let's say this one. We're gonna make this a nice white cap. So we're gonna start our actually division line here, come down, and maybe he falls off in that general direction. Okay. So this side is now all gonna be highlight. This side is all gonna be highlight, and this side is all gonna be shadow. This side's all gonna be shadow. We made 2 mountains that easily stand out now. Now you can really work on your paint break motions. And I can tell you're heavy-handed here, so here's a simple trick that you'll learn in that video. After you created your 2 template lines, okay, I want you to take that shop towel and on your highlight and shadow side, wipe to hell off of everything. We want to expose that toothing, my friend. Yeah, rock on. Expose that toothing. More oil will come off. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Plus, more paint's going to come off a little bit. It's still going to leave the residual color underneath a little bit, like that blue and red. So don't worry about it. Work off that excess color. Now take your palette knife, cut down and across, or you can move up and in, and create a nice ridge. You're going to start with your background mountain first, and just lay the peak of the blade up near the peak of your mountain, and just tap. Just create a simple line, something that's going to stick. Now that you've established a stick point, now you can rest your knife on that stick point, so now you know the paint is touching the painting surface, and just slowly start to drop the blade down across. Now it's gonna skip like this, and that's fine. It's gonna create paint breaks. Yeah, there's gonna be gaps in between them, which isn't gonna look pleasing to the eye, but you can go over it again. What I want you to learn with that background mountain, though, is the motion and the flow and the consistent pressure, and you'll eventually find it out by your 3rd stroke. Okay. Now when you reload your knife and you come back and you do this big boy right here, you're going to have the correct pressure, the correct consistency to make it not skip, but just kind of graze across the canvas. So that way when you bring it down across, you're going to have paint breaks. Now what's going to happen, since you're still new, is the top of your mount's still going to look like a seagull turd on it. It's going to have this big blob of white crap, okay? But as you come down, you're going to notice that it gets lighter, more breaks, and starts to flow perfectly. And you're going to, eventually, I can already tell you, you're going to start here, you're going to go, this sucks. Oh, this sucks. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, I got it. That's what happens. And then you're like, all right, reload. Got to go back up here and do this section now. And you're like, yeah, I'm getting it. That's how it works for everybody I teach. You just got to learn that little pressure, okay? So there we solved mountains. The next thing I want you to do is we're going to do your tree line here. Take some very dark color, black and blue, okay? Black and blue or black, blue, and red, whatever you want. And I just want you to literally take your 1-inch brush, pull it in your palette, pull it this way, pull it down and through, tap it into the palette so you get the color that you need and it's all across the bristles. Then take the brush, flip it upside down, and start pushing and just making just tree shapes. It's just an illusion. Push left, right, up, not down, left, right, up, and across, and just go all the way evenly across, okay? All the way evenly across. I know normally I wouldn't teach that, but just do that since we're teaching you. Now, take that same black color, or actually, let's see, what would be easier for you? Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, now we're going to clean off that same brush, all right? Now I want you to take a 50-50 ratio of liquid white and titanium white. Mix it dead. Mix it nice and creamy and thin. Now pull that same brush through, and load it up with white. And you're just going to need the lightest touch you've ever done to where the bristle, I'm going to show you my finger here, to where the bristle, just like this, bends just slightly. And when you go into your black tree line that we just established, and you take that, and you bend the bristle just like that, pull straight away, okay? Boom, bend a little bit, straight away. I guarantee you, your paint will stick no problem. And you're going to have these beautiful little clusters. Now, it's going to be pretty thick, and it's going to not look like it's the proper depth perspective, but we're not worried about that right now. I just want you to get the basics down. Go think about your trees. Don't just go in straight each time. Go boom, boom, boom. You want to go a little left, give it a little bit of curl, push. Okay, next one, maybe a little bit of a right curl, push. Okay, next one, maybe straight, push. Maybe this one a little higher, push. Break it up. You don't want to make it a straight line. Like go up, down, left, right, a little bit and curve, and go all the way across. All the way across. Congratulations. You just created your horizon shoreline for your lake, and it looks beautiful. If you want, and take your palette knife at the base, scratch in some lines, make it look like trunks at a distance. That's up to you. Now, if you suck at trees, and it looks like you do over here on the right, we can skip it. But if you want to do it, it's the same exact process we just did. However, scrape off any paint with a palette knife that is residual from, that is residual from your mountain coming down this way and your tree line coming this way. So take your palette knife and literally just scrape off this section here. Then take your 2-inch or 1-inch paintbrush and just blend it smooth. Now we've created a surface that's perfect for us to paint on. And all it is the same exact steps we just did for your distant tree line. I want you to put in some basic tree shapes. What I'd probably recommend is push straight up first with your 2-inch brush, pull away, go left, 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 and full left. That's it. Leave it alone. Then take your 1-inch brush with that same titanium white mixture we did, and then just do literally the same. Keep it more on the left side because your light is more or less here cascading this way. And then push, push. Oh, wait, let me do this in green for the second part so you can see. And then push, 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 and push. You're done. Don't destroy all the black. And if there's a lot of black left over, cool, leave it. It's nighttime after all. That's what would happen. All right. Now that we've created our big tree on our midground, whatever, we can create some white color. Since we put a little bit of white here, just take a fan brush and pull it straight down into your lake like this, and you can create the illusion of reflections and whatnot. What I would probably recommend, even though it won't be right, but I think you'll like it as a beginner, is do one strong pull here, 2 medium pulls on the side of that, and 2 weaker pulls on the side of that. Then switch over to your 1-inch brush and just feather that down softly, which is going to pull these down even further, but it's going to create a beautiful water sheen. And then take a clean 2-inch brush and work from left to right or right to left, and you have created the illusion of a water sheen on your water. Now, I would probably not do, since this is like the stillness of the night, that's kind of what I get from this painting, is I would eliminate these water lines here, but I would put them in the back. You only need a little bit. Go through your palette, make the thinnest cut you've ever done, just scratch in, scratch in, scratch in. That's it, dude. I would do that. Once you nail that, after that, I would probably repaint this painting again and then just nestle this painting in with a tree line here, or sorry, tree line, a bush line and a bush line here. Connect them. Same highlight trick, same highlight trick, same highlight trick. Leave this dark and shadowed, leave this dark and shadowed. You've got a full painting that's got a background, midground, and foreground. And you nailed it, dude. Paint it again. If you got a chance this weekend, dude, paint it this weekend. I think you'll be amazed at how much better you will do. Dude, I'm still there at times, Linda. Painting's a never-ending learning process. Hey, what's up, Angel? You struggle in tree and bushes? I do too. It's okay to struggle. We're all going to be on the struggle bus at certain times. One of the best things you can do is just slow down, take a break, Look at your painting and go, how do I want to attack this? Oh, you're welcome, Kevin. I'm glad I could help you out there, dude. I am glad that you shared your painting with me. It's the painting you did is probably one of the best things to start with as a beginning painter. I should almost do just a little simple tutorial like that for people out there like yourself to give you a little bit more advice and whatnot. Oh, you said you're left-handed too. Okay, yeah, that's why your highlights are on the left. Oh, okay, sorry, I noticed one more thing. I think you said you're left-handed, right, Kevin? Yeah, left-handed too. Okay, cool. I'm sorry, by the way. Is one simple mistake is, granted it's nighttime, and you didn't really establish a light source. Your light source is kind of everywhere because it's a reflection of moonlight. But since you put highlights on this side, you generally want to keep highlights always on the same side. And then your shadows, oops. And then God darn it. And then shadows on the other side. So just remember that. It's a simple thing, but it'll add to the ease. Now that you're only doing 2 mountains, trust me, you'll nail it, so don't worry. And I'm glad I could help you out, dude. But I like what you got. Dude. It's a good start, dude. The cool thing about what you have is it looks like a landscape. Even though it's not the best landscape by far, it's like, I get what you're going for. Nighttime landscape. Cool. Got it. Aurora Borealis. Cool. Got it. Snow-capped mountains at night. Cool. Got it. Tree line. Got it. Misunderstood tree that's had better days. Got it. A very cold, still lake with apparently like white sheeting on it, like maybe ice froze up in those particular parts. Or maybe these are holes that fishermen drilled in for ice fishing. Cool. Got it. You can tell little stories. That's what makes it fun. And it's like if you stand back and you look at this painting, you're like, oh, I get it. I see it. That's the cool thing about all this is like, you didn't have a shitty painting. Like, I see what you're going for. We just got to enhance it. Alrighty. We got Ryan next. I forget. I think this was like Ryan D or something like that. Now, Ryan Tonder. Ryan sent his as like a, whatever you call, like a photo that's got like a time limit on it. So I had to screen grab it. So, you know what I'll actually do for you, Ryan, since you may not want your full name shown, even though I just said it because I'm an idiot. Let's crop this out for you. There I go. See, I care about my community, damn it. Okie dokie. So we got Ryan up next, and then whoever wants to be after this, please let me know. I could probably fit like maybe one or two more in before I will call it a day. But let me know, and we'll see what we can try to get in there. And then let me know, please let me know what you send it on. Oh, Air France. France, please remind me after this one. I will grab you next, because I did promise that. So please remind me in a couple minutes here. Okie dokie finoki. Let's move on to Ryan. Let me duplicate this, zoom it in. So this is a Bob Ross tutorial. I know because I've painted this one before. I just can't remember which one it is off the top of my head. So we got a beautiful, I think this is the one where Bob's like, oh, look, we painted my fro, because it was like in a big circle. So we got a beautiful glow from our sun leading out onto a nice cold winter's day. We've got our clouds, our sun, our mountain range back here, our separation of our tree and hillsides, and then we've got our snowbank slopes, and then we've got our trees, and then a little bit of a ridge line here leading into our water. Hey, what's up, Levi? I would like to be. I was on Twitter. Cool. Remind me at the end of this one. I'll grab it with France, and we'll get to it. Or we'll see what we can try to fit in here. Gotta pull my pants down a little bit. Everything's bunching up a little bit. So this one's cool. I actually really like this one. This one's a very powerful painting because you got like warm and cold together, which are beautiful. As I punch my microphone again. So here's what we got. So the sky overall's not bad. You did a great job here, Ryan, of creating a vignette. And a vignette is where you have those darker outer corners that go into a focal point of where you're concentrating the color and or intensity of light and contrast and all those fun words. So the only thing I would probably recommend is it looks like a little bit of your color is patchy. Now that could be two things. One could be by design. And if it is, cool. I think it would benefit a little bit if it was a smoother transition. And if you had trouble getting that smoother transition, it could be because your canvas was soaking in all the residual color. And generally means just need to gesso the canvas a little bit. Or it could have used just a little bit more of a liquid medium underneath. But overall, it's got a very good gradient. I just think like you've got a little bit of a got a little bit of a patch issue there, a little bit of a patch issue there, and a little bit of a patch issue here. You can see like the color transition's not as smooth as it could be. Easy fix though. The one thing I would say that you probably messed up was a little bit on the balancing of the painting. Your mountains are set really, really low for the most part. If I was to paint this, I would move your mountains up a good section, like up into here. So that way it pushes the rest of the painting up. So I have more foreground to work with, which when I have more foreground allows me to push these mountains even further back, creating a better forced perspective or just a better perspective overall, lending itself to the illusion of more depth in the painting. Okay. So I would just move the painting elements up a little bit. And I do this all the time. That was actually my biggest mistake as a brand new artist is I would paint so much sky. I'm like, damn, that's fucking beautiful. And then I would literally start painting my mountains down here. And then I was like, wait, where's my lake going to go? So a good trick that you can do is I like to just mark off painter's tape on the left and right of where I think my horizon is. So that way I can just peel it off and throw it away. Or what Paul Ranson does is I believe he uses push pins or really big pegs. That's one of the two. And he just marks off on the left and right where his horizon should start and or stop. And they're just good visuals. I kind of do the same thing. I just use painter's tape because I just put it on the outside of my easel frame. So I would say remember that. KP, I have issues with creating depth/layering. Could you talk to it? I've watched Bob and I tried to emulate. Still looks flat. Any ideas? Yeah. I would say just watch some of the reviews we do here. You'll probably hear a lot of key points of the same issues that you have. In fact, one of the ones we did in the very beginning, if you go back and you watch this stream, it's either the first painting review or second painting review, maybe even been both, KP, is take your painting and convert it to a grayscale and you'll see probably how similar the whole casting of hue colors are within it, which leads to a flat painting. You need to create more contrast. Contrast helps the illusion of creating layers in depth within your painting. Having lights to darks and darks to light really creates separational points. And that's one simple thing you can do. If we come across it, I'll point it out here again, but we'll go through some of these reviews, and some of these things will probably really resonate with you on the same part. I'm not sure what number this is from. If Ryan's still in here, he might be able to let you know, Angel. Okay, so let's talk about the mountains here. So 3 mountains is a good number. The problem is I would start them all up higher. Hey, what's up, Fredneck Teddy? How's everything going on with you? So just like we said, I would bring these up higher and then bring them down, and I would bring them all the way across and fade up and out just like that. So that way you cover the back end. You can pull the paint nice and thin, so that way you have that little diffusion layer at the bottom, which is going to help us create separation and distance within the painting. It looks like you're struggling pretty hard on putting on paint breaks. And I can tell you're struggling a little hard because it almost looks like all of your application of your paint breaks are in different directions, which is what you don't want. You want them generally all in the direction you want your mountain to flow. So if you wanted your mountain to flow from left to right, your paint strokes should go, or palette knife strokes should go from left to right. If you wanted to create your mountain to be more steep or like a cliff, they should go from top to bottom, okay? You need to think about that. It looks like you had this one goes more or less this way, this one goes this way, this one goes maybe this way, this one goes that way, this one goes also that way, this one goes that way. There's too many directions. Like you could have done this all as almost one single stroke, and that one is all one single stroke, and then fixed it with some touch-ups. Now you probably suffered excuse me, you probably suffered with not getting the paint to stick, which is like what we had on the last one there. So the easiest thing, again, is watch my video on how to paint mountains. I guarantee you that will solve 99% of your paint break problems. It's the best way. So to reiterate, what I recommend is use an angled shader. If you don't have an angled shader, save up some money, spend $12.50 on an angled shader. It will change your life. No joke. Use an angled shader. Draw in your mountain shape. Watch, I'm just going to draw in a basic mountain shape like we just had here. Move this over here, duplicate my layer, go on my brushes. So let's just say, going to bring one mountain range up just real quick, and then one up, and then down and across, and then maybe this sucker comes down and like that way, just for like simple shape, okay? Now, like I said, draw in a guideline. Okay, well, it's going to go that way. Okay, it's going to go that way. Okay, that one's not going to go as far. And then we can drop in our highlights. So our highlights, I'm going to represent with green this time, is all going to go right here. Highlights all going to go right here. Highlight, this one's going to go only so far. Then you know where your shadow's going to be. And then this one cuts in front of that, you know? It gives you a template. A template is a great and powerful tool if you have problems visualizing, especially if you're not using a reference photo, okay? So use that little scratch trick to help you out a lot. Just delete the layer here. Now, you can wipe off, if you want, you'd actually do this step first, you would wipe off first, but wipe off all that residual color that you don't need. The color you put down is that base color, that dark brown, Van Dyke brown, or any color you put down will stain. You can wipe off some to expose the toothing. Now when you take your palette knife across, and you chicken wing and expose the blade as you come across and graze it, that toothing is going to be able to grab your palette knife with that paint and go click, 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 and you're going to have these beautiful, beautiful paint breaks in there, and you did nothing. You just let literally all the weight of the knife. As you get more experience and you have more of a touch, you won't have to do the wipe off method because you'll know the correct grazing method as you can do. I still have to do the wipe off method sometimes. And sometimes I have to do it because of the painting surface I'm on. If I'm painting on glass, plastic, porcelain, a really, really gessoed and refined canvas or linen top, because there's not a lot of toothing, it's smooth. So don't be afraid to wipe off stuff. A wipe off is a tool. there's a full painting method called the wipe off technique. And that's literally painting parts in and then wiping off to expose a shape and element. So don't be afraid to use blue shop towels. That is one of the best tools I could teach anyone to use. It's part of the trade. Okay, so now we talked about our mountains, and highlights and shadows would be the same way of doing it. And then you would figure it out, and then just fade in. You did a good job. Good job of fading in the bottom here to create the illusion of depth. The only thing I would say is, I'm sorry, you guys can't even see. I was talking about these mountain shapes right here. The only thing I would say is that you didn't do too well on here, Ryan, is fade with the mountain shape. You kind of got like a football oval and a football oval. I can't really see this one, but I imagine it's probably the same thing. Football oval. What you'd want to do is you'd want to fade up the mountain, up the mountain, up the mountain, up the mountain. And then on your shadow side, you want to fade up the shadow side of the mountain, up the shadow side of the mountain, up the shadow side of the mountain. So that way it creates the illusion that these peaks and valleys continue down into this haze layer that we can't really fully define. Our brain will fill in the rest. So that's one thing you'd want to work on. Okay? Your background trees, fantastic. You nailed this out of the park. The only advice I could give is probably use a little bit less paint, so that way you have more of a white diffusion layer here. Like right here, dude. You guys probably can't see it, or maybe you can. I'll zoom it in. Right here is beautiful. Right there. You got this nice little white misty diffusion layer. If you could have more patches of that going across, or even in segmented parts, you nailed it. This little rolling hill is okay. I think it'd be improved just with some better tapping in and stippling of where you're doing your colors. But other than that, I think that middle ground section, we'll call it, looks pretty damn good. Welcome to the mud mixers, KP. It's just how it is sometimes. The simple answer, you're not going to like it, is just practice. Don't do a full painting, just practice the elements that you suck at. Angle brushes are OP, shenanigans. It's too late. Oh, no. We'll see what I can grab here, Art of Shenanigans, okay? Alrighty, so let's So the part I'm having trouble with is I honestly don't know what this is. I'm assuming it's a snowbank. Like this one I can tell it's a snowbank, but I think it's supposed to be a shadowy snowbank. And I think the reason I'm having a hard time is because since we squished the foreground down, you didn't really have much room to play with, okay? So here's what we would do. Since we moved the landscape up, you have more room to play with, okay? So if you want to create shadows within snow in multiple planes within snow, here's what you do. I find it easier to drop in undertones of color. Now you can cheat, and just like when Bob drops in an ocean, you know how he pulls in colors from the sides of the canvas in? You can do that. Oh, KP, thank you for the love, my friend. I appreciate it. We got 3 members today. Love it. Can we get to a solid 5? If you find it in your heart to hit that member button, I would love it. You can pull color in from the sides, which is going to do 2 things. It's going to create an undertone of color, which we'll be able to harness for our snow when we get there. And it'll also create the template for our water in our lake down here. Okay? It'll give you a nice visual for that in just a moment. But since we got that undertone of blue, we can start dropping in a template with our white paintbrush and paint with a fan brush, script liner, flat, filbert, whatever you feel comfortable with, and just draw in the shapes. Literally draw in like, hey, I'm going to have one bank come here. I'm going to have one bank come here. I'm going to have another bank come here. I'm going to have another bank come here. Just drop it in with a very thin paint, because you know what? You're going to paint on top of it. This is just a template for your eye and brain to go, oh yeah, that's what I was going to do there. I do it all the time. It helps out a ton. Okay? Then when you have that, you can put in your shadow details. I like to use, honestly, a script liner brush. A fan brush with just a little bit of paint, because all the scratchy bristles sticking out make beautiful indentations of striations within the snow, or cuts within the snow, or indentations in the snow. Oh, thank you, Lorraine, for that 9 months of light touch. I love you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate the love that you give. And that fan brush is beautiful. Then when you can do the same thing with the highlights on top of it. And that's how you just create multiple layers of shadows and highlights on a snowbank. And you want to leave indentations of dark pockets, which would be like a darker blue, to make like more dense snow pocket of ice. And then highlights you want to put near it, because that's going to create for, like KP was talking about, how to create depth. Well, you want to have light next to dark and dark next to light in certain sections. And that's going to create certain layers of depth that you have and form that in, okay? If I was probably this person, I would probably eliminate this bank and this bank, because those are really, really hard. Okay, those are hard banks, to be honest. What I would do is I would say fuck it, and I would create this layer of a bank that comes down this way, and then this layer of a bank that comes down this way and cuts down in, and then I would have my water just like, I don't know, something like that, more or less. Okay, so that way I can take this snowbank and just create this nice little slope. This bank, create a nice little slope, and it's super easy to create detail out of that. Okay, and just make it easier on yourself. You're just making it a little tougher. Until you get all the tools, it's okay to simplify a painting. Nobody's gonna know what you eliminated or what you subtracted from it. As we get to trees, your trees aren't bad. You just need help on shape. And what I would recommend is, you got a fuck ton of trees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7, 8. Eliminate 2 trees. Eliminate 2 trees. 3 and 3 aside. Or better yet, would be actually easier. Put 1 tree here, 1 tree here, and then put 3 trees over here. That way you have a nice odd number, something like that, okay? That would be a lot better. Plus, it would give you a lot more to work with on enhancing certain things so you can concentrate on. Your tree shape overall looks good. Where I think you fail a little bit is heavy-handed on making them almost the same shape. They're almost like rectangles up and down, okay? Like they're, oh, that was a horrible line. They're almost like the same shape. They're almost like cylinders. And I know this one's pretty good right there, but this one isn't. They're almost the same shape. So here's what I would do, Ryan, is just start really pencil thin. Really pencil thin. Start dropping in just like this. Like, this is what I do a lot of times, because I need to visualize. My brain's not smart enough to not visualize. I need something to work off. You go, okay, I got my idea. Now, let's start a little wider on the next one. All right, there we go. Okay, and let's, maybe I'll just start here. That's pretty good. And I'll go fatter. Okay, well, maybe I'll start here now. And then I'll go fatter. And now you got like more of a shape. Now you can add more leaves or less leaves and leave gaps if you want. There's, trees don't have to always be full, but this will give you more of a better shape. And you'll allow more light to shine through from the beautiful background that you made, and the mountains will shine through, adding to more depth, because you'll be able to see through certain parts of your painting. And you go, wow, I can see the distance there. I can see the hills. I can see the mountainside. I can see the trees, or I can see the clouds, things like that. And that's all you need to do. And then if you want, you can wipe a little bit of the bottom off, and then flick up some snow like you did right here with the grass, and you got a perfect thing. You just got to add a little more detail in the foreground. Your water's fine. You just got to scratch in that water line to match the snowbanks. The only thing I think you failed at is, watch, if we turn this grayscale here, is you'll notice that this snowbank, this snowbank, this snowbank, this big snowbank, and this snowbank are all the same color in tone and value. And that's what makes it look flat, especially the 2 big ones in front. This boy and this boy. Okay? What we need to do is more or less add those pockets of colors of highlights, so shadows and highlights. And you know what? You got a little bit of yellow in here, dude. Don't be afraid to add a little streak of yellow that reflects and refracts off certain parts. Like, like a little nugget of ice just caught a little bit of that light in that one moment of that 1 second. You could add it in there, or you can even take a little bit of that yellow and can add yellow snow. I mean, it'll work. Yellow will have a little auburn color depending on the light that's cascading down onto it. You can add those little pockets, and that'll really give it multi-dimensions. Also, if you don't like to add yellow snow, you need to go back and add stark white, like especially here in this foreground and especially around here. Now, that's okay if this is darker because maybe the trees are blocking the light coming in, but these 3 sections, and maybe even like right up in here, could really use some stark white, and that would add so much. And that's just like literally fan brush or filbert brush and a light touch and a light touch and a light touch and done. And you'll be like, holy shit, that made it 3-dimensional in 3 strokes. And that's all. That's all, dude. And you nailed it. Good job. Good job. God, you guys are dominating some of these paintings, though. I'm so impressed. So impressed. All right. We got... Let me get to my Instabam. All right. Time to do maybe 1 or 2 more. And I promised à France. Let's see. À France. Let me grab this. And then I think we had, what was it? KP or somebody. Who was somebody else? Let's see. France. Yeah, I got France's right now. It looks like it's a beautiful tree painting. Then I can grab, let's see, who's else? Levi? Levi, what did you send yours on? Instagram, Twitter. Got so many of these. I could almost do another one like tomorrow or this week. Oh, you said yours on Twitter. I guess I could have read that message earlier. Derp. Let's see what it was on. Was it a message? Let's see what we got here. Maybe it was just a tag. Let's see. I got one from Dan Jones. Painting with CJ. DM. Okay. Oh, is it not showing? Why is it not showing? Oh, maybe because I have to approve it on here. Let's see. Oh, I have to wait, why is it not pulling up on here? Oh, there it is. Aha, I found it, Levi. Don't worry. Crisis averted. I'm so smart. All right, so we got Levi. All right, let's go there then. Artisan names be wait. Okay, cool. We'll see if I get through these fairly quickly, and then we'll see what we can get. I'm actually having so much fun with these. I might do this tomorrow, or maybe I'll do it during the week. Would anybody watch this or be interested if I did it during the week? It would be during like normal hours my time. I guess like, I don't know, 10 a.m. to like 1 a.m. or something like that. I could try doing one like Wednesday night, but I don't know how well that works for everybody else. But maybe like my EU friends would appreciate that more because that's more morning for them. All right. Français. Let's go up with you. I love this. All right, let me duplicate this really quick. You're free, Levi? All right, cool. I love doing them. They're fun. Review. There we go. So we got this beautiful, I was going to say landscape. Beautiful treescape. There we go. I had to like search for the word. I forgot what tree was. My brain went full derp mode there for a second. Okie dokie. So we got a beautiful like birch willow tree going up in here. This is beautiful. France, do you mind letting us know how long you've been painting, what painting number you roughly think this is, and what medium it is in, so that way we give everybody here reference of how long you've been doing what you've been doing. Depends on time, but you can watch. Cool thing is you can always watch the VOD, but I like having it here where you can ask me questions and all the fun things like that, you know, which makes it kind of cool. Okay, let's get started here. So we got a beautiful cascading of gradient colors in the background. with one of my favorite colors. I love a beautiful baby pink color, especially when it's right next to like a baby light blue. Looks beautiful. In the background, then we got the illusion of, let's just say, forest treetops or foliage tops, working its way from a darker cascading to a lighter cascade to a highlight cascade in the foreground, and then these beautiful birch willow trees that just found their way up and out of this landscape with some trunks on it. I want to say this looks like acrylic, just the way that the application of highlights are applied. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, but I don't know. Maybe France will tell us. Been painting for 5 years, no idea how many, because I paint over what I don't like, acrylics. Don't always eliminate, if you're going to paint over what you don't like, which is fine, that's a good way of recycling a canvas, especially if you're not happy. Always take a picture. Always take a picture. It's a great way of documenting how well you've transitioned and evolved as an artist. Trust me, I've got some that you'd be like, wow, you painted that? And I'd be like, yeah, I painted that. We won't talk about it. You like this one? I like this one too. I think this one's very, very pretty. So first of all, the gradient looks pretty damn good. The only thing I think I would probably concentrate a little bit more on in the gradient, it's a little hard to see because it's a little milky washed near the center, is I think this would benefit from a vignette a little more. The birch white bark on the tree, to my eye, is the focal point, okay? It transcends the entire painting, and that's where my eye is drawn. So why not accentuate that by creating a little bit of a vignette within the sky towards it? You kind of do with the bottom of the painting, where you have the shadows in the bottom corners, and then the highlights cascading towards that way, which really accentuates the tree bark, which is beautiful. So I would say probably darkening the corners of the sky, so that way your focal point goes more towards the tree, would be a great move. And it would just take a little bit of color transition and gradient positioning to make that work. You have so many, too many for my gallery. Hey, they're good memories. They're good memories. The blue works. The pink works. Love it. I'm always going to love those colors. I think the illusion of what you have for the background also works. However, you've got a great layering of colors in here. You got a great layering of colors in here that separate out different foliage layers. Works well. The only thing I think it doesn't work well with is it looks like you try to create the illusion of background leaves from bushes and or trees, like here, 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 and here. And they're the same tone value of what you have here and here, that I think it doesn't work. I think if you knock down the color or were lighter on the touch, or maybe had more of a transparency to them, that was the word I was searching for, it would work well, or scrap it. I don't even think it really needs it, to be honest. It also maybe would help if there was like some scratch lines in there, to if they are distant trees, maybe you see a branch or two. But I think it would almost work better without them. Because it deters my eye, because we don't need to see leaves there, since we're going to have really focal point of leaves up here in a second. But just an opinion to think about. Like I said, you got the beautiful layers of the foliage as it works its way to us. No critique there. I think you did a beautiful job. It almost looks like this is an illumination point, and it's cascading out and across in this general direction, and it's beautiful. It almost looks like this is like a life well, like feeding this tree, and it's awesome as it works its way up. It's not really a natural way of doing things, because our light source is way back here, so I don't know how light is working its way over into this part, but who cares? We'll just call this mustard flowers or mustard plant, and it looks beautiful. So your picture, your way. I like it. I think it works well. Your tree bark is fantastic. It's got gnarls and notches in it that really lends itself to the painting. You did a good job of putting shadow undersides down and across. I think you probably could have added a few more, like on this branch that gnarls out and away. Other than that, looks fantastic. I love how you took some of the highlights up into the shadows, up into the bark. The only critique I would probably give is this tree's fine because it goes off our canvas. However, this tree has a bottom point, and I think you could have put more of like a root and cemented it down and in. So it looks like it's really sitting in something, the earth, you know? It looks like it's just cut there and more or less floating. You needed to give it a little more of a footing that would stand out. Plus, it would give you something to play with more gnarls, notches, and the bark. So that's the only critique I would have. You did a little bit of a flare, but I think you could have flared it out even a little bit more. If you don't like doing roots, aerial roots, I said them aerial roots, you could put just highlight on top of it, cover it up. It's fine. The leaves are okay. I think there could be denser pocket of leaves, in my personal opinion. Like, you got a super dense pocket here, and maybe a little baby dense pocket here. But it looks like you had little paint come off your paintbrush. And I think it kind of pulls away, especially here at the top. I think it just needs a better application of paint to be put on there. I probably would have done 2 or 3 layers of leaves. I would have done a dense green, a lighter yellow, as in shifting from green to yellow, like the transitioning of colors, and then maybe just a little bit of a firecracker, of just a little red or orange, or a little bit of white for specular highlight, something to make it stand out. And I think that's pretty much it, dude. I think it's a simple painting that's very impactful. I love it. There's nothing too much to critique on it other than maybe just a little more concentration on some of the branches. You have these background branches that are like pure black or purple, and I'm not really sure why. They seem a little distracting. I think if you would have had the white birch, it would have been fine all the way through. This may have been one of my first birches to paint, but I had fun with it. It was happy accident. I think you did very fantastic. Birch is awesome. You did an amazing job. I love the texture that you have on the bark. It's fantastic. Branches are tough. Branches are certainly tough. I think whatever these light purple ones are, you could just have eliminated them or made them brown, so that way it at least matches the second texture of the bark coming in. I don't see many leaves on a birch. I didn't know how to do leaves. Well, birch trees, I believe, are hibernational trees. So like when it's wintertime, they don't have leaves. I think they like go into hibernation, and then when they come out, they bloom. I could be wrong. I get confused on my fauna and foliage and all those thingies, my bobbers. But what you can do is you can use just small clusters. So like you can have barren tree branches, which you have, and then as you get to this section, just put a cluster, and this section get a cluster, this section get a cluster, this section get a cluster, and this section get a cluster, and then maybe leave the less barren. Maybe it's going into hibernation or it's coming out of hibernation. You make up whatever story you want, but that's how you create. You got to make a story to go with it. But I think the denser pockets would have helped out a little bit. There's just too many little sporadic places and too many color transitions to where it doesn't fill in so much. But overall, fan-freaking-tastic. I love that. I think it's a simple, fun tree. My favorite part, literally, is the illumination from the bottom of the trunk going up. It's beautiful. It's surreal. It's like I almost imagine like fairies or Navi from Legend of Zelda just like sitting in that little area, illuminating that little pocket, and just pulling up. And it's cool. It's super dope. I love it. And that's what's so cool about being creative. It's your world. You do what you want with it, All right, I think I only have time for one more, and it's going to be Levi, because it's coming up on noon here. And Ryan still hasn't had his full breakfast yet. My coffee gone cold. But if you guys like this, I can maybe try to do it later this week. If you do, let me know in the comments or in chat right now. That always gives me a thing. I like doing this. I don't know if I have plans next weekend, but if not, I can try to do next Saturday as well. Saturday is probably one of the easier days for me. I might try a week, but who knows? We'll see what we can do. Alrighty, we got Levi. You are up, my friend. You are up. I love doing these. These are fun. To be honest, I love seeing what you guys create. And it actually gives me a ton of ideas for tutorials. I'm like, oh, I can see what people are struggling with. I can see what people are excelling with. I can see what colors people like to use and what resonates with them. I can see just a magnitude of things. And it gives me a bunch of ideas, which I'm sure it gives you guys a bunch of ideas too on like, ooh, maybe I should try the seascape, or maybe I should try doing these gradient of colors or this color combination, or, oh, he's struggling with trees too, so I don't feel so bad because somebody's going through the same trials and tribulations as me. I thought it was just me having issues. Now I feel better. I'm not alone in this journey, and that helps a ton, you know? All right, we got Levi. Let's finish off strong here. I love hearing other people's too. It's awesome. It's awesome. We got, this looks like a smooth canvas here with beautiful texture. So Levi's painting is a beautiful mountainscape here. Let's get rid of my ugly face. So we've got a beautiful, nice pale blue sky with some textured clouds. We got a background, almost what looks like a volcano-ish mountain with a nice mountain peak on our right side. We got a nice cloud that's just hanging low between the two. Then a tree line followed by another tree line with a shoreline with a pine tree on the right. We got our water established, and then we've got what appears to be Dante's Inferno of a tree on the left hand side and two death sticks with rocks. A lot of mud mixing, but man, this one resonates with me because I've been there. Levi, if you still are in chat, man, can you please let us know how long you've been painting, what number painting this is, and what medium it is in? That way we have a reference to go off of everything. Let me pull my beautiful face back up. Get a sip of my coffee. Oh, let me do a quick stretch here. My watch was saying I need to stand up. I gotta get my butt moving. Oh God, good stretch. Oh, I'm hungry. What's something tasty I can do? Been painting for 4 to 5 years now. This is maybe painting number 40, and it is oil. Awesome. The best thing about this painting, Levi, is I like the simplicity of it, and I love the balance of it to where the tips we're about to give you, I'd love to see you paint it again because you're going to dominate it, okay? So, number 1, love the pale blue sky. I think it works well for the environment here. No critiques on that. The color transitions you got through it are perfect. The clouds you have in there are also pretty good. If I could give one bit of advice is I think you could be a little more free and loose with your clouds. So if you're using, let's say, a fan brush to create them, try next time holding a little further back on the paintbrush and using a little bit more of your arm in full to be a little more free and loose to create it and whip up the back end of that fan brush to create beautiful looking crowns, okay? Then from there, with a very light and clean 2-inch brush or 1-inch brush, whatever you have more control with, try pulling a little bit of that crown down into the body with a nice light cross stroke. Clean off the brush before you work on to the next cloud so you don't contaminate paint over. But what that's going to do is it's going to give you a nice fuller body that's going to wrap around in all these different dense pockets and create a more, let's just say, dancing cloud, if you will. Your cloud on the left on the right is fantastic, but the one in the center is a little bit of too much of a full circle, if you will, or half circle, and then this one's actually really good, but it's got this arcing motion, which I know exactly what that comes from, is when you started painting with your fan, or you probably started from left to right, or sorry, right to left. You went up and created it and it came down, and you didn't realize when you did that, you just made this arc when you probably should have gone this way and then started again and gone this way, and then you would have had more of a body shape to it. But it's fine. It's fine. The overall, they look fantastic. I think you just could be a little more free and loose, and you'll have different densities and pockets, and you'll see that light pale blue shine through on certain things, adding to depth, which will be really good. Then you got this mountain here on the background. Again, like we repeated, and I'm going to repeat 1,000 times, angled shader. Get an angled shader. Angled shader will change your life. Spend $12 to $15 on a good angled shader. It'll change your life. take that angled shader. It's okay if you want to have a rounded mountain. There are rounded mountains out there. It's fine with me. Just make sure it's chiseled. Make sure it's chiseled. You got a little flabby part sticking out there. This is where an angled shader comes in. I would just take that brush, come down from this dome, and just go just like that, and then finish it off just like that. And now you've got a little bit of a rounded dome. Now, I probably wouldn't add any paint break on this mountain. What I would do is in that video where I teach you how to paint mountains, distant mountains, I would treat it just like this. I would just use that angled shader, and I would pull shadow and highlight in certain directions, and then let it fade all the way down, so that way I have this little space that creates a nice little light diffusion. Then if I wanted to go back and add some detail, I would just add it in with my angled shader or a script liner brush and just phases. But in my mind, this is a distant mountain. This mountain, Levi, what am I hitting here? There we go. This mountain is behind this mountain. So it shouldn't have as much definition, which you kind of did correctly. I can tell you tried to fade it up. I would fade it more. You got too much paint on this mountain. Just put a little bit of light detail like you did here and pull it down in the shapes that you'll want, okay? And then when you take your brush, you can pull up and fade. Create that illusion of depth, dude, and then you got it. Your cloud here looks fine, looks beautifully fine. You could probably just bring it up a little higher to hide it and then just fade it out just the way that you got it. Looks great. No critique there. The only thing I would say for you to create an easier time for the next layering that would be in front of it, which is that tree line, is take your 1 inch or 2 inch brush and really work out this base. Just do some really nice strong circle swirls like that, and then just blend it with cross strokes just like that. And that way it's a nice thin layer application. So that way when you put trees on there, they will stand out and they will stick. Okay? This mountain looks like it's seen a little bit of better days. Looks like it's gone through some hard times here, but hey, I like mountains that do that. These mountains are more or less the same height, which is fine because it kind of creates a cool forced perspective, which forces our eye to go down in this general direction. So I'm going to say it's okay. All right. I don't know if you're left-handed or right-handed. If you are left-handed, leave the painting how it is. Okay? If you're right-handed, flip this painting. Put your mountain over here. And here's the reason why, Levi, is you're going to have an easier time breaking paint down into the right for you. Okay? So you're right-handed, flip it. You're going to have a harder time trying to pull your paint from right to left. So just flip the painting, flip all the elements in the painting, okay? Literally flip it. This will make it a lot easier for you. It's just the way that your natural hand and brain will work for you. And as you do that, like we've told other people here, is whatever mountain color you got, use my mountain steel color. Black, blue, and red, mix with just a little bit of white, and really push that base color into there, okay? Really stay in that canvas. Then wipe some of it off with a paper towel, blend it in, and then scratch in where you want to put your highlight, okay? So now you got a visual. So now everything on this side will be your highlight side. I'm just still going off the way that your mountain's going. So now you've got all your highlight, and you go, okay. Well, maybe it comes down this way. That way I just got a little more. And then the shadow is going to cut down and through here, just like this. And now you have something that stands out and is defined a little bit more. What happens is you kind of have the same mistake that last person we had did, is a lot of your, whatever strokes and palette knife marks, the direction those go in, shape the direction of the movement within the mountain and the movement within the painting. So if you want your mountain to go down in this direction, your palette knife has to generally go down in that direction. Just like it does here. You can tell the mountain's going to go left and it's going to go right. So you need to do the same thing. You have too many palette strokes in different directions, okay? You got this one's going this way, 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 This one's going this way. Too many different palette knife strokes in too many different directions. Now you can do that as you get more advanced because you'll make corresponding shadows go with it and make more jagged mountains that are crags and whatnot. But since you're just getting the hang of probably paint breaks here, if I was you, after we flip the painting, because that would be easier for my hand too, is I would take the knife here and do the single stroke and the single stroke like you did, and then do the shadow side, single stroke and single stroke, and that would be it. Then for my next mountain that comes down and across, after we chisel in our line, single stroke, single stroke, single stroke, single stroke, and single stroke, and then fade it out down into the bottom, create that nice misty layer so our next layer of trees can be on there. And you just made it way easier for yourself, and you've defined where the movements of the mountain are going, okay? Now, here's the problem you're having. You're not getting paint to stick because you got too much paint on the canvas. And if you have too much paint on the canvas, when after you put in this layer here, wipe it off. Take your 2-inch brush and just start scratching all the paint off that you need so that we get layers that will work. So if you're going to create a mid-ground layer that has 2 layers into it, what I recommend, is create a mid-tone color. Let's just say Van Dyke brown, sap green. Let's just say it was that, okay? I would leave, reverse that. Reverse though. Reverse card. Let's just say it was sap green. That'll make it easier for us, okay? Sap green. I would use the pure sap green for this layer. Then I would use sap green with a little bit of yellow or a little bit of white, and I'd use it for this layer. Now, what that just did is we created 2 planes with 2 different contrasting colors. Not contrasting enough, okay? They're going to be complementary, but they're going to have enough differentiation that it's going to break up these 2 planes and work at 1 plane at a time. And what you want to do is you want to drop in this tree segment plane all the way across, okay? And you're going to go in, pull, in, pull, in, pull, in, pull, in, pull, in, pull. It's okay to reload. It's okay to clean the brush if it gets contaminated and have those segments. And you want to go in different heights across. If you make it even, it looks like you're creating a fence post, and you don't want that, okay? So you want to go in, pull, or if you want these to be super in the distance, push your fan brush in to where it blooms and pull up. Into where it blooms and pulls up. Into where it blooms, where it pulls up. Then go over it with a 2-inch brush or 1-inch brush and pull up, and you've created distant trees in the background that look like little, small, distant, hazy sticks. Now, when you take your next layer, you can come in and across in front of this. You can wipe this off if you need to. Come in front of this, and now you've created 2 planes that intersect, creating mass depth. And here you can create your pine tree, and your other pine tree, and your other pine tree, and your small trees, and then take your Van Dyke brown and pull it down and in, and you've created your beautiful little shoreline. And it'll look fantastic, dude. It'll look fantastic. You're having an issue getting paint sticking because I think you've got too much paint, too much liquid white base medium on there. A simple wiping off color with a paintbrush or wiping off color with a blue shop towel and then wiping everything in to blend and then putting color on top of it will help you a ton. Okay. Whoops. And then when you get to let's duplicate that. Then when you get to the shoreline here, you can just take a little bit of Van Dyke brown, a little bit of white, mix it together, leave it marbly. Take a palette knife and just make some light striation marks across it. It's going to create these cuts and cracks right here. It's going to look like light is hitting different shelves and plateaus and all those things. That's going to add a little bit of detail to it. Okay? Then you can take your palette knife with a little bit of white paint on it, and you can just scratch in some color right here, which will create nice little water lines. And the further back ones, take a very your softest brush you have that you have control with, and just blend it left to right, and sit there a little bit longer, and then blend these ones a little less, then a little less, and a little less, and a little less, and that'll create the illusion of depth that those watermarks are getting further and further away from us. You can do a little shadow on the mountain. I think that might be a little too advanced for him right now, but yes, you would do that. What I would say for a happy medium, Lorraine, is pull that down. Is if we want to put a reflection in there, or maybe this mountain's so far back you don't see the reflection, is you would want to pull the tree color down like that, and you would reflect it in the water. So you would put a little bit of green and then blend it out, or sorry, put a little green, pull pull it down, then blend it out so it has a little bit of that green reflection pulling back in. That would be a happy medium. Yes, if depending on the perspective of how low or how high or how far back that mountain is, the mountain may or may not reflect in the water. But I would say that's an advanced technique. I would say let's get a little few of the basics out there. I want him to master his paint application skills first. Then we can worry about reflections. The water sheen you got in here is really good. I would say put a little stronger blue over here and pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, pull it in, and it'll create this nice illusion of a water sheen and also create a nice little darker pocket here, creating a vignette that goes over into the center of the painting. Then you have the biggest problem of all, and I'm going to remove me for this, is you have mud mixing beyond mud mixing here, okay? And I have been here. And it sucks. And what do? Well, it's all about learning the correct applications and correct ratios of paints. That's really going to help you out. I really recommend doing one firm paint to one 50-50 ratio paint of a liquid white or liquid clear or a gel medium mixed into the paint for the highlights, okay? So here's what you're going to do. You need to really work on one section at a time. And to make this fair, let's simplify this. One section is going to be the tree, okay? One section is going to be this foliage point right here. And one section is going to be this foliage point right here. It looks like you tried to do too much. Rocks, twigs, multiple bushes. Let's work up there. You could do just the tree if you wanted to, or just the bush even. But let's do three. Let's do three since he spent so much time with us today. I want to give the best I can. Here's what we're going to do. Let's make the tree go here, okay? And it's going to stop right there. Let's make it a green X. It's going to stop right there. If you know it's going to stop there, you know it's going to stop there because we created a nice little line. Put in a template line. Then start with the skinny part of the tree of building it, okay? Then reload your brush and start working fatter. Then reload your brush if you need to. Start working fatter. Then reload your brush if you need to. Start working fatter. Okay? We got our tree. Everything's good, said, and done. All right? Now, let's leave it alone. All right? We'll come back and we'll do the highlights in a second. We'll knock it all together. Now we can put in our tree or our bush base. So we're going to do 2. All right? We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. And it stops right there. Then you're going to do your next one. That would go boom, 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 boom. And let's just say boom, okay? Now that you've got all your dark color associated to where it needs to be, we can put in our highlight color. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to cheat. I want you to take a 50-50 ratio. I want you to take cadmium yellow and liquid white. 50-50 ratio, okay? Then I want you to take cadmium yellow with a little bit of any red that you have and liquid white. So it's going to make a nice orange color. Very beautiful. Mix it kind of marbly so it's got a bunch of different colors in it. I know you can't see me, but I'm talking and I'm doing awesome right now. So we're going to use the first mixture of the cadmium yellow. And we're going to put, it's going to mix with this green tone underneath. And we're going to put our highlights. And you're just going to tap, 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 tap. Done. There's your highlights. It's going to represent the sun coming in and hitting that. Okay. Then we're going to save that yellow mixture and put it off to the side because we're going to use that same yellow mixture and put it here. Now, an advanced technique is I would have said this mixture that we use up here, just put the tiniest bit of sap green in it so it knocks it down so that way our foreground stands out even more. But I'm not even going to worry about that, okay? Now we're going to take that orange mixture and that's what we're going to use to separate this tree and this bush from each other because we're going to create a plane of different color. Now, push, push, push. You're probably going to get more likely like this. Push, reload the brush, push, reload the brush, push, reload the brush, push, reload the brush, push, reload the brush. Leave this dark area alone because that's going to create separation between the bush below it. Then go back to your yellow color that we used for a tree and do the same thing. Push, 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 and push. And now you're done. You created a more balanced painting that's got more layers that stand out, and you're going to have such a better time getting them to stick because you got such a fatty paint on there. And you just do it to where it just barely bends the bristles. And it's going to add so much beautiful, beautiful texture in that foreground. It's going to look so dope because when it dries, it's going to look like it's standing right off that painting. And it's going to look fantastic. No joke, paint this again with all the tools that we just gave you, and you'll have such a good painting. You'll have such a good painting. And if you're struggling with painting layers, dude, you can do this in multiple sections. Like paint this over 3 days. Drop in the sky. Sky is easy. Drop in the sky and the water template, okay? Then you can do the clouds the same day. Then call it quits for 24 hours. Next day, do the mountain. Or actually, you know what? No, but let me do that again. Do the sky, water template, clouds, and then the mountain template. No paint breaks, no highlights, no shadows, no nothing. Then call it quits. Come back after 24 hours. This will all tacky up. Then put your details on. Let's get this over here. Then put your details just on your mountain. And then your paint breaks just on this mountain. And then fade it up and in so it's got that nice diffusion layer. Then call it quits for the day. Come back 24 hours later. And then put in your tree line, your creek ridge, river ridge, whatever you want to call it, creek bed, and just your water lines. Okay? And then if you wanted to, you could call it quits, or you could do just the template of the tree, your one bush, and your second bush. You could do that all together, then call it quits. Then the next day, you could come back. And since this is tackied up, you could put a little bit of highlight on your riverbank here. You could do all the highlights on your tree, your orange highlights on this bush, and your yellow highlights right there, and they will stick so easily. And within 3 to 4 days, you will have a beautiful painting that you had no problems with. And you're going to be like, well, Ryan, that's not fair. I'm going to do a wet on wet painting. It's okay. These are just learning steps. You'll learn how to break paint. You'll learn how to do highlights. You'll learn how to get your brushes to bend and apply properly. So that way from not doing a painting in 4 days, you take it down to 2, and then from 2 to 1, and then 1 day to a few hours. It's okay to start slow. You don't have to paint something in 35 minutes. Go slow. You'll learn a lot that way. Oh, my sweet, merciful, googly boogly. Oh, we did it, boys and girls. Where'd my strap go for this? Oh, there it is. Anyway, where'd the strap go for this side? Oh, there it is. That was a lot that we did. We did way more than I thought we would. Way more. I don't even know how many paintings we got through today. Maybe 6? That was a long time. But thank you for letting us take a look at that, Levi. That was super cool, dude. You guys got so many good paintings. So many good ones. I can't wait to see what the next few things that you guys paint are going to be. But I just want to say thank you to all our artists today. We had Levi, we had Ryan, and we had France. We had Harry, we had Kevin D, Lorraine, Ryan Owens, Tobias, and Victoria. So if you guys are interested in this or you're watching from the VOD, let me know if you want to see more of these. If you haven't had a chance, make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter. You are free at any time to always show me your art. I may not always get a chance to comment, but I enjoy it, and I look back at it, and I try my best to reply. Watching the videos on YouTube are a big help. Leaving comments are always a big help. Thank you to our new and recurring YouTube members. If you guys did enjoy this, the support really does matter to me. The free ways to support are the ways I just mentioned. If you do want to support financially, you can always become a YouTube member. I try my best to get the best content I possibly can that's going to help you. You can always download my PDF, which is a nice way of help supporting me. And if you want to buy something off Amazon, just clicking through my links. Doesn't cost you anything, but I make a small affiliation sale, and it adds up over time. So it was good. I did like the elephant. That thing was baller. I just didn't know how to help you on animals because I don't do animals, but I love seeing that stuff. So thank you for sharing it with me. I'm glad I could help you out. Art of Shenanigans will get you on the next one. If I have time tomorrow, maybe I'll do it tomorrow, but I definitely will probably do it during the week or next Saturday. So tune in for when those will go live. I'll make sure to tweet it out, post it out, and put it on the YouTube channel members page and all those fun things. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And I will see you guys all next time. Love you all. Have a good one. Have a great weekend. And I can't wait to see what you paint next. Take care. And as always, peace. I know it's France. I just like to say France. It's my fancy way of saying it with my pinky up. Take care. Later all. Bye.